Good morning, everybody. This is the Camera Life Podcast. My name is Justin, and I'm here with Glynn Lavender, our guest this week. Oh, yeah, you. That's you, Glynn. How are you?
I thought you woke me up. Sorry. I was just drifting off into the world of funky music.
I like this song. It's one of my favourites for our intros.
Really?
I'm developing quite a little soundboard here with my special effects. It's fun. What are we? I think we're episode 61 this week. And we've got a wonderful interview coming to you because...
Who are you interviewing?
Oh, he's joining us soon, Glynn. He's a really interesting photographer.
No pressure, at least. Because if it's interesting with me, it's not a good sign.
We're going to be chatting with Glynn. I've listened to a few interviews with you on other podcasts already. And so I'm a little bit excited. I've even listened to you give some talks, and you have some controversial opinions on photography, equipment, photography awards, photography styles, all sorts of things. And we're gonna talk about all of that. It's gonna be fun.
As I like to say, I have an opinion on everything, and I'm more than happy to share it. I should get a T-shirt made up. And that's my life.
It's actually, you should get a T-shirt made up. That'd be good.
Ask me for my opinion on anything, on absolutely anything.
Wow, yeah. I'm looking forward to it. And we've already got some people joining us in the live chat. So before we get you to give us a little rundown of who you are and why people should listen to you and your amazing controversial opinions, let's see who we got here. We got Philip Johnson. He says, good morning, Justin, Greg, and g'day, Glynn. Unfortunately, Greg isn't with us this morning. He's feeling a little under the weather. So hopefully he's doing all right. Hopefully you're okay, Greg. You might have us in your earbuds.
He just wanted to sleep in. He just goes, I'm not going to do that podcast. Problem is, he doesn't want to be associated with what may be controversial content and keeps his reputation clean.
He doesn't want to get cancelled.
He's going to sink you.
David Mascaro, good afternoon. David's from San Francisco. Good to see you again, David. We've been missing you. I've been thinking about where you've been the last couple of shows, so it's good to have you back. What have you been up to? Hey,
David. Mike's Camera in San Francisco, best camera store. So if you're looking for gear, Mike's Cameras.
David has all the gear. He's fully loaded with a heap of old Nikon film cameras.
Justin, there's no such thing as all the gear.
That's true. That is true.
You never have all the gear.
I bet he's still got a wish list, but I think he did a head count for us the other day. I think he's got 14 cameras, and he's always getting out and rocking around San Francisco doing street photography. So it's good to see you here. Who's this guy? Cam Blake Photography. It's too early for Glynn energy.
There's no time that's right, Cam. No time.
And whenever there's Cam, there's always also Brendan Waits. Morning, lads. What's that? Oh, got your dulcet tones ringing out at my shop. Oh, that's awesome.
Trying to keep the customers away for the morning, are you, mate?
Yeah.
Trying to keep it quiet.
If anyone comes in looking for something, just patch them in and we can give them some advice on what to buy.
Oh, we'll give advice. Happy to give advice. Always happy to give advice. Yeah.
And finally, the frog is here. Digi-Frog from
Dave.
Tassie. Good to see you, Dave.
The dogs are doing okay, Dave.
You down there? Is it cold down there, Dave?
It's Tasmania. It's always cold down
there. Glynn, who are you? Who are you?
That's a great question. Is this a philosophical question? Why am I here? What's the purpose of it all?
You can take it any direction you want.
I am just a guy who, for lack of imagination, lack of ability to think outside the square, seriously no ambition in life, who ended up being a photographer because his mum dragged him out of school and threw him into a camera store and said, this is my son, employ him. And they did. And 43 years later, I'm still in the industry because I had so little imagination to think of doing anything else.
Wow. 43 years
later.
That is epic.
And I still look this good.
You don't look a day over
60-ish.
I was going to just leave that one. No, you look great. That's amazing. 43 years.
I've got all the fill front lighting in to fill in all the cracks. If you want to look young, frontal lighting. That's the way to do it.
What do they do? Stretch a pair of pantyhose over the
lens? I tried that, but
it
mate, my face all smushed up.
I think that's for burglaries.
Well at all.
Oh, wait, hang on. We've got a late starter of an additional co-host, Jim.
Oh, look at this.
Hey,
g'day, Jim.
What's up?
Hey, Cliff.
You made it.
Good.
I'm back. Yeah.
Good to see. How was the school run? Was it good?
There was more traffic this morning. It's been raining in Bendigo, so more traffic than usual. And yeah,
isn't it always the way?
I don't know what it's like where you are, Glynn, but when it rains in Bendigo, everyone just slows right down and pays really close attention to what they do, which is good because obviously we want to be safe. But it gets pretty slow out there.
Yeah, it's a bit like that in Melbourne too, though. Yeah, there's a little drop of rain and people forget the basic skills. But I found that I used to live in Vancouver and in Canada, and the 51st state of America, and
soon.
And too soon, and same thing. First sign of any sort of snow, bang! Everyone forgot. People would stop their car in the middle of the road and get up and just leave it there. It's just like, I'm not doing it. No,
wow.
I'm just gonna... and just you're driving along, this car stopped right in the middle of the road because they couldn't handle it. So Bendigo is no different from Vancouver.
It is. It's probably just a smaller scale. Like when we say traffic in Bendigo, we mean like there's 8 cars in front of us and there's normally none, and we're not happy about it.
Of course not. Yeah, no. You make Adelaide look busy. No.
Yeah. Exactly.
Well, we're kind of like Adelaide 10, 15 years before Adelaide, which is, I don't know, what, 50 years behind Melbourne, roughly.
Yeah.
Whereabouts are you in Melbourne, Glynn?
I'm in a place called Caroline Springs, which is only about an hour from Bendigo, so not too far from you guys.
Yeah, it's on our side of things.
Yeah.
And before we dig into some of your story and some of these controversial opinions that I've got a whole heap of notes on my digital paper. So what sort of photography, you're 43 years, you've probably done a million things. What do you do now? What's your photography style and what sort of work do you do?
The only thing I do is people. I only photograph people. There's zero interest in anything else. So if there's a building in my photos, because there's a person standing in front of it. If there's a mountain in my photos, because there's a person standing in front of it, it's people based only. And I tried macro once, but damn thing's too hard. The little thing moves in and out of focus. You breathe, and it's just I don't have the patience or the skill set for anything as clever as that. I don't like getting up early or staying up late. So astro and landscapes are no go. People you can sleep in, shoot from like 11 till 1, and go back to bed, and it's pretty good. People you can say stand over there, and sometimes they're willing and they do. Mountains, never once.
Yeah, harder to move.
Yeah, and with people, if the light sucks, you make your own, and you can shoot what you want when you want, and so it's a combination of laziness, and I think the other reason is I'm a sometimes gregarious person. I'm one of those typical introvert extrovert types, so I enjoy meeting new people, but only for like 4 or 5 minutes. And then I'm done with them. So it's great. You can walk up to strangers, meet them, have a great time, take their photo, have a lovely experience, but not have to carry it on.
Yeah.
So I went to like 14 schools in 8 years. So I was always a new kid. I was always desperately trying to make new friends, and I was always gone. So I think that sort of formulated my approach in life. I can't hold relationships with people beyond about 5 minutes. And so I'm sorry, I've got to go now, guys. I hate to break it to you, but this has been probably above my normal time frame. I think we've been going like 8 minutes, and that's probably a minute or two too long for me.
I love it. Work to your strengths, lean into
work to your weaknesses. Absolutely. Yeah.
Now, so you're a people photographer, a portrait photographer, but also looking through your work, you're also very much what I would call a travel photographer.
I would call an over processor. Is that what you're going to say? Is it an over processor?
I love your processing style. It's actually on my list of things to ask you about. But do you call yourself a travel photographer?
Well, I do, but only because that makes people want to come on tours. It's purely mercenary. Where's the money at? Can I get them to come along? It's morphed into that. So I mean, I started teaching people photography 15 years ago, I guess, doing workshops, and I've done probably 1,000, 1,100 workshops in that time frame.
Whoa!
And then that morphed from doing that to, well, what else can I do with taking photos of people? And it sort of develops into, well, let's go somewhere and take photos of people. And That worked out pretty well. So then we kept on going places, and so that became a travel photographer out of teaching people lighting skills to how to photograph a person. But it was really more, I'd run a workshop, and then to teaching skills. Then I'd run events where I used to do like weekend events where we'd set up models in a location, and we'd do teaching lighting lessons and shooting. But it's just expanding on that. So it went from 1-day workshops, 2 or 3 day weekends, to 2-week tours, just to keep expanding the lessons and the experience.
Okay. So it was an evolution. It wasn't.
Yeah, absolutely.
You didn't. Did you do much travel prior to teaching?
I always loved travel, but not photography based. Okay. So I'd either travel for my own enjoyment to see places, or I'm a mad fly fisherman, so I'd travel to fish. So that's why I went and lived in Canada for a year and a half, just as a base to fish from. So very, very different. I don't tend to take many photographs when I'm not working.
Really?
So I don't have a passion for photography. I don't really have an interest in photography. I don't like my own photos. I have no interest in them. If my hard drive's melted tomorrow, I wouldn't care. The only photos that matter to me are the photos of my kids and my family and my mum and my dad who are no longer with us. So that stuff's important. That's not because it's photography. It's because of who's in the photo. But photography itself, I'm not overly passionate about.
Really?
Yeah.
It's been your life for 43 years.
As I said, when my mum dragged me by the ear into a camera store and said, "This is my son, employ him," I had so little imagination to do anything else that 43 years later, I'm still in the industry.
You made it work.
I do have one anecdote that from early days that did give me some interest in photography. That sort of sparked my desire to continue doing photography. And that was about the age of 17. I was asked by this stunningly beautiful woman to do her wedding photos. And, we worked out a package and I agreed. I was working in the photo retail in those days. And she was getting married at the Windsor Hotel. She was getting ready at the Windsor Hotel here in Melbourne, which is a very fancy, old-fashioned hotel. And 17-year-old nervous boy knocks on the hotel room door, and mum answers the door. She says, come on in. And then this stunningly beautiful woman steps out of the bathroom wearing just underwear and no top and nothing else and waves. "This is going to be fabulous, isn't it, Glynn?" And yes, I'm going to do this for the rest of my life. If this is what photography is, as a young 17-year-old boy, and it opened my eyes to a whole new world I didn't know existed. And it's the only time it ever happened in my entire life.
I was going to say, is it the first and only time?
But I'm still waiting.
Yeah.
The only reason I'm still going is hoping there'll be another chance. But it was just funny that just kind of, I was almost forced into working as a photographer by these people approaching me, funnily enough, and saying, "We'd really want you to do." So I guess a lot of photographers start out that way, is they take it up as a hobby. I didn't, but they take it up as a hobby, and then someone asks them to do a job for them, and then somebody else asks them to do a job, and it can morph into either a part-time or a full-time. The only reason I took up taking photos in the first place is because I went to 18 schools 14 schools in 8 years. So I didn't really have any friends. When I started working, my work friends, mates became my friends. And in those days, stores would only open till 12 o'clock on a Saturday. And then they'd all go out taking photos in the afternoon. So if I wanted to hang out with my new friends and have something in common to do, is go take photos with them. So I bought camera gear and I went out and took photos with them. But it was that's what I said. I've never had a passion per se for taking photos. It's always been a reason to do it. And I always say that the doing is always the enjoyable part for me. The end result, I don't really care about as much. I do if I'm doing it for work and I need to produce a result. That's important, but it's important not on a self-fulfilling enjoyment level. It's a phew, got the job done. But as far as the reason for taking photos is the doing. The doing is interesting. The doing is fun. It gives you an excuse to walk up to people and introduce yourself and talk to them. So a very different mindset to what a lot of people have.
Yeah. Do you get, like, when you're shooting and you sort of know that you've gotten the shot, do you kind of get that feeling is there any enjoyment, or it's just work?
It's not even just work. because I don't think of it as work either. So that's kind of the bizarre side thing. Just to see how I can say this without sounding particularly arrogant, which is my normal state anyway, so I'm not sure why I'm concerned. But when you have a certain level of photography skills, you see every shot before you take it. Because you've done almost this thing 1,000 times. You know exactly
the
what the
outcome's going to be.
Yeah, so when you take the photo and it works, it's no surprise. It's not a joy. Oh, my God, I got it, because you knew you were going to get it.
Yes.
It's just, oh, yeah, got it. What's the next one? Yeah, there's a little bit of that disconnect.
What about that 1 in 1,000 times, though? Do you ever, surely you're not this good, that there's never a time where you're like, I wonder if I can make this work? Because as you get better, yes, you're right. You get things become obviously easier to pre-visualize, easier to execute because you know what you're going to do before you do it. But there's still, do you ever seek out images where you're like, oh, I wonder if I can make this work?
No, I don't have that much imagination.
I'm sure you do.
I just do same shit, different day. You know, just rinse, lather, repeat. It worked last time. It'll work this time. What? Right. And here's the thing, that because when I shoot, I'm usually shooting with other people. So I've got a group of 4, 6, 8, whatever it may be, with me. My job is to set up, shoot, and get the hell out of the shot so they can.
Yeah.
So I have 30 seconds at the shot. You know, I don't have long times to ponder, wonder, and experimenting for a group of people is probably not the best solution, because that one-off shot that you may make work, you can't make work for 8 other people.
Yeah.
Because if you're lucky to get it yourself, they hate you because you got a shot they couldn't get, and your shot's better than theirs, which often is anyway. But that's just from repetition, not necessarily from skill. So there's not a lot of experience, and because I don't shoot for myself, I don't go out and do personal projects very often. I don't experiment an awful lot. Yeah, it's pretty, but that's probably going to that underlying not being passionate. Yeah, I don't want to come across like I hate photography. I certainly don't hate photography, but I don't really, unless I know someone, I don't follow them as photographers. Yeah, I don't read photographic books. I don't watch documentaries. I don't watch YouTube videos on how to take photos or other people taking photos. It's just not a passion that way.
Interesting.
A bit different. Yeah. A semi-funny anecdote is my eldest son has recently, about 1.5 years ago, been diagnosed autistic. But he self-diagnosed himself first. He came out with like a 14-page report and said, "Mum, Dad, I'm autistic. We need to deal with this."
Hang on, a report that he read, or a report that he wrote?
He wrote his own. Yeah,
that's amazing.
He statistically went and looked at all this stuff, got all the facts and figures, and came out. And he goes, "Here's a 14-page report." Which when he went through the full analysis with psychologists and everything else, he was pretty much spot on. But the funny thing is, when he came out with his 14-page report, he goes, "Oh, and by the way, Dad, here's your 8-page report. So you are too." so there's.
Wow,
there could be a barrier there somehow that makes me perceive the world in a way that's different. If he's correct, and he seems to, he's always seems to be correct. He's a pretty smart kid, so he's probably got some level of accurateness when it comes to how I emotionally connect with some stuff.
I can't believe that your report did only need to be 8 pages.
I know, right? I mean, he wasn't trying, obviously. You know, I think that was just bullet points, though. There was 8 pages of just bullet points.
He put more work into his own report, a bit more detail.
Absolutely, because he was more concerned about himself. Yeah.
All right, let's go to a couple of comments
this podcast is not going anywhere near the way you thought it was going to, is it?
It's going.
We have no plan.
It's exactly the way that I thought it would go. In the comments, we're getting a bit of a weather report from around the place.
Excellent.
Dave Digifrog from Tassie says it's going to be 30 today.
What, Fahrenheit?
Yeah.
Yeah, slightly below freezing. Brendan Waits from Cameron Photo says light drizzle in Ocean Grove. Beautiful one day, perfect the next. And Cam says 29 and sunny where he is in Tassie. I don't know if him and Frog are in the same spot or not. I'm actually not sure. They are. Yeah. It's the one place, Tassie.
It's pretty sad. I know almost everyone said they're made up in San Francisco. It's The few listeners you have are all people I know. It's as sad as my podcast.
We're going to talk about your podcast in a bit too. It's pretty impressive. Brendan says, "Damn it, I've got a lot of work to do, but I love listening to this guy. Just put it off."
I think he's talking about you. He's talking about you, Justin.
It's very rare that Glynn talks or goes on a podcast, so you've got to harness these moments and really hang on to them. It's not like he has one of the longest running podcasts in the history of podcasts.
The longest running photography podcast,
which is called now. Shutters Inc. Shutters Inc.
Shut up or something like that. Yeah. Shut up and listen or. The stupid name. I didn't make it up. Yeah.
David from San Fran says Mike's in Pleasant Hill and Dublin and Sacramento, but I use Pleasant Hill all the time.
Good stuff, David. I did some workshops for those guys I think I did Pleasant Hill actually a few years ago, and Sacramento too. Actually, I did workshops for both of those stores. So good people.
We've also got Marie Phillip in the chat. First time watching live, long time listener. Have to say your special guest was the draw card. Jim, she's here for you. That's cool.
Good on you, mate.
Thanks.
I'm glad you could make it, Duke, because Marie would have been so disappointed if it was just us two.
Bruce Moyle says, morning, gents.
Hey, Bruce.
Oh, my gosh. Cam's being paid to listen, apparently.
Checks in the mail. And that's not just the name of my gay porn movie.
And Bruce says it's 28. Yeah, I'm reading the comments and I just heard porn. I'm like, yep, okay, moving on. And there's a lot of discussion about who's related to who in Tassie. So we'll leave that there.
If you want to check it out, have a look at the comments.
But the comment I did want to pull up, which was interesting, was David.
It was an interesting one. Excellent.
David from San Fran says, I like the image behind Glynn, and I wanted to ask about that image.
I'm glad you do. I hate it.
Okay, so this is what I wanted to find out.
Why is it on your wall?
Why is it on your wall? You say you don't like photos. You've got this photo printed up.
It's the only photo of mine on my walls, and I only put it up for the podcast. And it's because it's the only photo I've got printed. Is because this. You can hear that. It's done by a company called Print 2, the number 2, metal, Print to Metal here in Melbourne. Lovely people. They gave it to me for free, and it was a last minute. It was for a photo show in Melbourne quite a few years ago, and they had a stall opposite mine, and they said, "Quick, send us an image, and we'll print out a photo for you." So they did, and so I shove it up on the wall whenever there's a podcast, just because it's the only photo I got printed.
Hang on, and then you take it off the wall.
Oh, I don't want to see it.
Oh,
they didn't like it.
There's
It's a shite image.
All right, hang on. Let's pull up your Instagram, because anyone that's just listening is going to be like, oh yeah, that's a high resolution shot of this photo.
So Print to Metal. There we go. Look at that.
Printed on Chromolux.
There we go.
I might have to get something done.
They do fabulous stuff. These guys.
Are you moving your laptop around with you?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, is that
what that? Yeah, no, that's great.
It's a zoom.
Zoom in.
It was so smooth too. It's seamless. You thought it was on a dolly. You know?
Yeah, you got an assistant back there.
So these images that you take that you hate, is this an example of an image that you hate?
No, I don't hate that one. I hate this one.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Right.
It's not so much a matter of I've done this 1,000 times. Yeah, right. I've got so many images. This is a lovely image. I love the framing. I love the lighting. I love the subject matter. It's fine as an image. Yeah. But I don't know. It's okay.
It's okay.
Maybe it's not for us to judge our own work. Maybe, if people like it, great. If people don't like it, that's fine too. People don't have to like what I do. And I always say to people I teach, and I've taught probably close to 10,000 people over the years, photographers over the years. You don't want to shoot like I shoot, and you don't want to. You want to take the skills I'm going to give you and bring it to your own style, to whatever floats your boat and is interesting for you, So garbage too. I'm not a fan of that one.
So you're not a fan of this one?
No.
I was drawn to that. I don't know why. I love the composition. I love how simple it is. Okay, tell me about where you took this and what the situation was.
So this is taken out the window, at my bedroom window of my hotel in Inlay Lake in Myanmar.
Seriously?
And yeah,
Out of the window?
It's an over the water bungalow kind of thing, and I'm just sort of sitting there, and this guy's pootling past. It's just kind of, so the lake itself is beyond that green line of I don't know what is land, what it's called it. So the main lake's on the other side of that. This is like a lagoon off the lake where the hotel's set up. So I'm just sitting there looking out my window, and 6 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the morning or something, and this guy's pootling past. Now the fishermen of Inlay Lake are famous because they row with one leg. So they actually row with their leg, which is why it kind of looks like he's got his leg up in the air. So they're just going to stand there and kind of do this kind of strange motion with their leg to row along. And he was just going past and took the photo. Yeah, and it's all about balance. You know, the two, the one. Yeah, there's this the single palm on the left, because it's reflected, is an element of 2. Then the foreground weeds are 2, the reflections are another 2 and 2. There's a lot of symmetry in that. There's 2 islands. I know there's a symmetry. There's a simple symmetry to it. So that's kind of works. I think that's why it works as an image.
And he's perfectly framed.
Yeah, I probably took half a dozen images as he went past, and that was the one that worked the best. Yeah.
I know you say you don't like it, but you obviously you've shot it. You've picked it, and then you've posted it.
Yeah.
So there's obviously, that it's reasonable.
Oh, it's a fine image, fine enough image, but it's really and it's consistent with my style.
I reckon
it's very good.
I actually think with my style.
I think David's hit the nail on the head here. I wish I hated photography as much as you.
It'd probably be a lot cheaper for you, Dave. Let's put it that way. If we're looking, there's a photograph there of a woman's face up close in black, but next to it there's some people walking past the Taj Mahal. I kind of like that image because it's a funny story.
Tell us the story.
This is from my last tour to India in November, and it was the last morning of the tour, and we'd got to the Taj Mahal at 5 o'clock in the morning. It was pristine, clear sky. You could see it sitting there; all the stars are out. It was gorgeous. About 5:30, this massive fog rolls in. This incredibly dense, thick fog rolls in, and so when you get inside to the Taj Mahal, which opens right on the dot of sunrise, you get to the famous shot where the reflecting pool is that everyone takes a photo of, and you can't see the Taj. You can't see more than 5 feet in front of you. And it was like that for a couple of hours. So there's all these people walking around just devastated. They can't take photos of the Taj Mahal. And I'm running around like, oh, how exciting is this? Because I've seen the Taj a bunch of times, but I've never seen it covered in fog. And it's the mindset of... and this is the big problem with travel photography is people go there with an expectation of the type of images they're going to capture. Usually based on internet searches they've done before they've gone there. They've seen 1,000 photos of the location. And what tends to happen is people go there and try and recreate those photos that they've seen, because it's hard not to, because it's inside your head. It's I've seen this shot. I want to be in this spot. But when you're confronted with something completely different, and in this case, a massive bank of fog, you have to change your philosophy. You can only shoot what's there, and what's there is going to be different today. It's going to be different tomorrow. The great New York photographer Jay Maisel, street photographer, once said, "You can't go to New York and photograph New York. You can only go to New York and photograph your New York, the one you saw on that one day. The people, the things that happened, the people you saw, the lighting, everything's different every single day. So that's the only thing you can shoot. You can't shoot the iconic. You can shoot what's in front of you." So this is a classic example. You get there, it's full of fog, but fog always drifts. So the Taj is coming in and out. As it was starting to lift a little bit, it's appearing and disappearing, appearing, disappearing. And they said, well, how can I make it interesting? And how can you add some life and color to it? Well, you add people, and you add colorful people. So you sit there, and sometimes you have to get to a place and wait for something to happen. So I'm sat on this location for 15, 20 minutes waiting for something to happen. And as groups of people drifted past, hopefully not tourists, or not Western tourists anyway, then you try and capture the mood and the feel as best as you can. So I think there's a good lesson for photographers is to try and shoot what's with an open eyes and see what's in front of you, not what's you're hoping to take photos of. Is kind of that's what, if I had an underlying philosophy, it's kind of that: shoot the light, find the light, and shoot it, and wait for something to happen. Don't try and shoot something that's already happened 1,000 times before. But we all take the cliche shots. You have to, we're all going to do the reflective pull shot of the Taj Mahal, for example. But we want our own photo, and we have to go search that out and think of it differently.
Do you have any, I completely agree. And it's certainly one of those things as well, especially if you're not traveling. Like, say if you're traveling and you're not on a photography tour, like when you're on one of your tours, the trip to the Taj is specifically to capture
at the right time of day, at the right
perfect, exactly. Yep. But if you're just traveling, I think you can get lured into that. Oh, I hope I can get a shot of the Taj Mahal, but you rock up there at like 11:30 a.m. and there's people everywhere and stuff like that.
There's 100,000 people there.
Yeah, and that's just the reality of it. And sometimes if you're just on a trip with your family, but you want to do a bit of photography too or whatever, and that's just how it's going to unfold. Do you have any tips for how people can break away from that mindset of like, oh, I need to get this perfect shot that I've seen on the internet? Like you mentioned a few things before about sort of following the light and stuff, but is there anything else that people can do to try and break away from that and accept the reality that they're in and then enjoy capturing that reality?
Yeah, the thing is, how many if you go look on the Taj Mahal on photos online, how many of them do you see that are full of thousands of people? How many well crafted shots showing the Taj Mahal overrun with people do you see? Hardly any. Can you take that disadvantage of, oh my God, there's so many people here, and make it something that stands out? That, oh my God, look how many people are here. Take it from a negative to a positive by saying, how can I showcase this mass interest in this place, this reverence to this tomb, and showcase that in the photograph? And that goes for every single time you hit a location that's not necessarily exactly as you hoped it would be. Well, how do I shoot the difference? How do I shoot the change? You look at classic photos of places from 20, 30, 40 years ago. Well, none of these places look like that anymore. They're all completely different. So, how do you try and photograph the change, show the new, that not the same thing over and over again? Now, caveat, there are people on the Taj Mahal. So this is a photo with people in it. It's not a photo, just not a landscape shot. It's not an architectural shot. This is a people shot.
It's funny. I've actually spotted another couple of ones. I was like, there's a few bird photos here that I'm seeing. I don't see any people in those. I don't know. I reckon you.
There's got to be someone somewhere. The thing is, when you're leading a tour, you got to shoot for everybody. You can't just shoot for yourself. Yes. You've got to try and give a broad array, which is why we go to the architectural places, why we go to the great places, because people want to see that. Given my choice, I wouldn't visit the Taj Mahal on a trip to India because I've seen it. I wouldn't go again. I would just walk the streets around it, because that's where I'm going to get the more life. But when you're traveling, you want to. So here's a classic example though about the Taj: is how can you shoot it in a way that is not the common. That's not the same photo you always see of the Taj Mahal. And this is taken from, there's a river just below the Taj Mahal, just over that wall, called the Yamuna River. And there's a park opposite the Taj Mahal, which all the tourists go to. That's one of the spots everyone goes to. But they all stand directly in front of the Taj in a whole group of people and either just sit there or take photos or whatever. And there is limitations. There is fences on either side, but you can walk to the left and you can walk to the right and find different angles and different perspectives. And there's a grove of trees that you can shoot through to get very different perspectives of the Taj Mahal. So it's again that job of getting the easy shot, the stand in front, get it all perfectly lined up shot. But then what's it like from this angle? What's it like from this angle? What's it like from this height? What's it like from this height? Work the four axes of how can I make this photograph not just the same as everybody else's. And sometimes you can't. Sometimes there is no other shot that really works or is interesting, or so I tend not to post those crap ones. But when you find something that is a little different, then you can hopefully showcase a different idea of the place.
Exactly. That's like I scroll through your images, and obviously you've done so many trips. When we're looking through your Instagram on here, is this most like is it generally recent stuff, or do you post?
These are all the November trip.
Yeah, so you're not sort of posting stuff from years ago as well very often.
Sometimes I do, but it depends. If I've done a trip recently, it'll all be current stuff. If I haven't done anything for a while, I'm trying to pimp out a tour that's coming. I mean, when I'm trying to suggest people come on a tour, I might showcase some of the. I may showcase some of the work from previous, but all this stuff's on the Pushcar Camel Fair. Which is click on this one. You can just see my arm in this shot. I kind of like this is just on the
one? This one
on the left there. There we go. With a snake on my head. You know, you got to have fun. Wow. It's a cobra up on the head. But
that's terrifying.
So you've got to have this kind of lighthearted stuff. You can't all be on a photography tour. Whilst we're focused very heavily on making sure people get shots, you've also got to have experience. It can't be just photos only, no experience, or you don't have any warmth when you look at the photos. You've got to have a feeling of, which is why it's great talking to people before you photograph them. You know a little bit about them. You can know a little bit, maybe know their name, you know their job, you know just something about them, and that warms you a little bit more when you look at the photographs of them. Yeah, some of these are just This is a lighting lesson I was doing on the banks of the Ganges, just using I use Harlow. I'm a Harlow Creators ambassador, using one of their new travel LED lights. And
Harlow used to be called Hobo Light.
Hobo Light, yeah,
and they're not flashes; they're continuous,
just continuous light. Yeah, so I do carry on tour flashes and triggers for every brand of camera. So in case I choose to do an off-camera flash lesson, but for teaching, LED lighting is an awful lot easier because people can see the result of the light before they shoot. It's a little bit harder to teach people who've never used flash to visualize where the light's going to hit. So, but of course, the LED has limitations as to when you can shoot. As far as the amount of ambient light you've got to deal with. So it certainly works exceptionally well at dawn and dusk, indoors, but not in a 36-degree day and blazing sun.
Yeah.
A lot of when you can use flash.
How often do you, so like sort of switching gears into your portraits, which are often
in your face?
I don't know what I would call them. Like what do you call your portraits? What style of portraits are these? In your face.
I'm a kind of an in your face kind of person. For the 4 or 5 minutes, I'm happy to talk to you. So I guess it's pared down to their simplest story, I guess is probably the best way to describe all my photos. If there's anything in my photo, it's because it's that's other than a person's face, a la this shot. It's because it's been considered and decided that it adds to the story for whatever reason I felt at the time. But waste no space, waste no words in the photos is probably the better way of looking at my photo. So if you show me any of my photos, I can tell you why every element's there. Simply because it would make, maybe to my autistic brain, I don't know, but it makes sense for it to be there. There's very rarely is there wasted space.
So therefore, with you, it says here natural light portrait for this particular one. Therefore, with your lighting, so you use natural light, you use continuous lights, you might use flash.
Yeah.
Do you start with I want to make a portrait with this person, and you start with natural light and then you add light only as required, or are you looking at the scene first? What's your kind of workflow as far as how things unfold in your brain?
I like to call myself an available light shooter, as in I'll use any light available. So whatever it takes to get the shot is what I don't care whether it's LED. I don't care if it's a fluorescent light on a wall. I don't care if it's a spotlight on a building. Light is light is light. If anything else, I'm a light photographer. Yeah. So light is always when I'm photographing a person. Light is that's another LED lighting shot, but it's light first and foremost always. So if I can do natural light, I will, because that's the lighting kit just there. That's actually a little behind. So it's the little carry around kit, and then the next shot's my guide holding the light. Just to give you an example of behind the scenes setup.
Looks like his crutch is emitting some sort of glorious.
Yeah, well, he's a powerful man. Umesh is my guide. He's a powerful man. Yeah, he's a strong and powerful. But yeah, so it's always give an example. If I'm walking down the street looking to photograph people, and again, I don't really do street photography very much. I'm always looking to engage with someone and then try and capture a portrait of the person I've met. But as I'm seeing someone that I go, oh, there's an interesting character, out of the corners of my eyes, I'm looking for where's the light, because very rarely are people standing in great light or walking down the street in great light. So it's always, there's a person I want to shoot. I'm trying to engage them with my eyes. I'm trying to have a big smile on my face, because if they look at me and smile, we've already got a connection. And that's always a good start. But at the corners of my eyes, I'm saying, is there a doorway? Is there an alleyway? Is there somewhere where the light I can be controlled a little bit? So I'll always start off with natural light first, because impromptu street portraits can't take a very long time. They have to be a couple of minute job at best. But then if needed, if I think the shot warrants it and the person's willing, and I need to bring out extra lighting, I'll always bring out whatever's necessary. If it's the middle of the bright day, or if I want to bring out, let's say it's an overcast day, but I want to really enhance the clouds, I'll use flash, because I can really control the ambient scene with flash. Where with LED, they're just not powerful enough to allow me to underexpose the clouds and really get the mood and feel that I want. And still be able to overpower the light on the subject with an LED. So I'll often use flash. But a shot like this, where it's just after the sun's set, it's perfect time for LED. Yeah, even very low power, they kick out a nice bit of light and give you a good feel.
When you are shooting on the street, are you, and obviously chatting to people, are you passing the photos on to them afterwards? Like, are you getting their details? Is it?
Yeah, it's a good question. No, yes and no. I never ever promise people photographs because it becomes beholden upon me to remember their details. So if someone passed me their name and number on a card, I'm going to lose that card. That's just my way of disorganization. I'll give them my card and say, here's my details, get in touch with me, tell me where we met and when and what we were doing, and I'll send you the photos. And I've had people up to 8 years after I photographed them send me an email. Oh, I was in this coffee shop in New York and you asked to take my photo. Do you happen to have that photo? Sure, here it is. Yeah, I can access that. But these guys that we were just showing a second ago, the sadhus on the Ganges there, I'm in their WhatsApp group. So they send me daily blessings, and so
via WhatsApp. That's amazing.
Yeah, via WhatsApp. Yeah. So them and there's 4 or 5 other guys in this little group, and so because I've got their details straight away, I could send them their photos, and they send me photos of their family and the holy celebrations, and now we have an ongoing connection with each other. Funnily enough, the other way of doing it, I also carry a little Hewlett-Packard printer, just a little, what's called a sprocket. It's about yay big, and I can take a photo that's on my phone and print it out in about a minute flat and give them that. So I'm love doing that, because the expression of giving someone a photo who's probably never had a photo of themselves in their life or not for many years is a great experience. So that little printer is just
is it one of these?
None of the above. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
They're the ones at the bottom right there, basically. Portable,
the sold out ones.
Portable instant. They're all sold out. Yeah. On the left hand side. There you go. On the left hand side, $99.
Right. Okay. So it's just a little.
Whoa. Instant printers, basically. It's like a Fuji Instax, but in a printer form.
Yeah.
All right. Sorry about that music, everyone. Apparently,
in fact, Fuji. Speaking of Fuji, Fuji have a fabulous new camera, a reasonably new camera called a Fuji Instax Mini Evo.
Evo Wide or something like that?
The Wide's a newer version, but the Evo by itself is used as the standard Fuji Instax Mini. This thing's got 10 different filter types and 10 different lens choices. You got up like 100 little options you can play with on this camera. I bought one for my son for Christmas and just loves it to pieces. But the great thing is he can do instant photos from the camera, give to his friends, keep for himself. But it also stores digitally as well. So he then has them on a memory card. There's the one, yeah. And it's kind of a cool little retro look. Carrying something like that around would be a fabulous little travel camera to have. You take a photo. You've got the photo stored on the memory card. They've got to print. Job done.
Yeah. Is this one of the ones as well where it can go the other direction and you can print off your phone or something?
You can, yes. You can send from your phone to the printer as well. Yeah.
So it can just be a printer as well as being a camera and a printer.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty cool, and it's a cool looking little camera too. So I think it's
it is cool looking camera.
Yeah, I think it's a novel piece of kit, and it bridges. And so one of the other questions I get asked all the time is, do you pay for photos? Yeah, do you pay people? And that's a complex question to answer. But wherever possible, the answer is no. But I'll guarantee you, giving someone a photo of themselves has far more value than any money you can give them. So be able to give someone who's either never had a photo of their child or never had a photo of themselves is a huge thing. I've seen people cry. I've seen people run around their village screaming, holding the photo in their hands in celebration of having something that they never thought they would have. That's worth more than a few shekels that will cover one meal or two meals will ever mean to them. That's something they'll treasure for the rest of their life and maybe for generations. Yeah. So having something like that on hand negates a lot of that. Having said that, stuff like the sadhus, the babas there, who you might have for half an hour to do a lighting lesson and to be teaching 8 people, you're asking a fair commitment of people. So I have no problem. And those guys, they're a community. So if you donate some money to them, it's for the whole community. It's not just paying one guy. So it's a little bit different. What I'll say though about people who do pay all the time for photos is I find it very hard to think that the photos you've captured give you the same warm, fuzzy feel when you look at the photograph that you've taken that wasn't paid for. I think anytime you pay to have a photo of someone, it takes away some of the soul of the photo, some of the joy. Mr. Wu, the Chinese cormorant fisherman, is a classic example. If you've ever seen Mr. Wu with the mountains behind him, he's holding his lantern, he's got his hat on, the cormorant's got his wings open at the front of the boat. And the story is Mr. Wu, a 5th-generation cormorant fisherman, has just returned from an 8-hour trip fishing with his cormorants. Mr. Wu hasn't fished for 15 years. There's 15 Mr. Wus lined up on the bank, and it's $20 a shot.
I'll see if I can bring up an example. I don't know if Jim knows. He'll probably know what but it's like,
there we are. All the Mr. Woos.
Yeah, it's like the sort of things that you see.
Yeah, so they're all pay to play, and there's nothing wrong with that. As you said, this one won some international Sony International Travel Photography Award. I think that one there.
This one, I remember one that got quite famous that had like the blue hour and the perfect lantern and all that sort of stuff.
And look, it's good photography. It's good conceptual. It's a good art piece, but it's not travel photography. It's
less authentic.
And so whilst they're fine to look at, I know from experience of shooting these kind of things that the photo will never mean as much to you. It doesn't, as opposed to a photograph that's authentically captured, will always give you a stronger feel in your soul when you look at the photo. There's more pride to be taken. Yeah, sure, you're showing your photo skills. Now I saw this in Myanmar with a group of Thai photographers, and these guys would spend 2 or 3 hours setting up a shot, then they'd all shoot it, then they'd all go back and spend 2 or 3 hours post-processing it, and they're all completely artificial. But that's the only type of photography they did, and if that's what floats your boat, it's fine. But if you're out there trying to capture photos that actually mean something in the world, they're not them. And I'll say the same for my own photos of that are set up with they don't mean as much to me as the photo of the people I've genuinely met. Now I love those photos, the barbers, the sadhus, because I had a great experience with it. If we just pop back to my Instagram for a sec, if we can, if it's possible.
I can do anything. Very professional.
Someone can, because the guy we just showed sitting with his legs crossed.
Where was I? I was down a bit further.
I think it might have been. Yeah, so a little bit further. Yeah, this guy here on the left. Don't have to open it up again. Now, if we go further up the stream again, keep going up a little bit. There's a guy lighting keep a little bit further. I think fair bit further up, I think. Keep going. Great podcasting. Keep going. Oh, no, it might have been lower. Keep going. Down. What you going that way
we
for?
Can do this.
Lower.
Sorry.
Lower.
My bad.
What are you doing?
The other up. The other up.
The other up. The real up. Keep going. Keep going. There, right in the middle there.
This
so the guy, the one that was right above the. So this is the same guy. This is the same guy, but 5 minutes later, after we've finished shooting him, he's now sitting talking to his friends. He's lighting up a joint. Yeah. But this is a genuine captured moment that happens in a fraction of a second, and it means something because it's real. The other one is prettier, but hollow.
So, this means a lot more to you. The other one was kind of like a more of a lighting workshop.
Exactly, yeah.
And like you were saying,
and this is
you knew you could do it.
Exactly, and this is what I know I can do. This capturing that fraction of a second, literally, where the flame lights up, and I didn't even know he was going to be lighting his joint. So this all happened in the space of about 4 or 5 seconds. So you got to be ready. You got to have your settings right. You've got to. This is nighttime. Get everything spot on in a fraction. So there's more reward in getting a shot that is really quite difficult to take. That's real. Than one that's might be difficult to set up, like Mr. Wu. That can be a difficult, complex setup. But there's not the reward or emotional feel, I believe, in the end result.
It's repeatable, though.
You love photography. Hear it pouring out of your soul while you're talking about this photo.
I love teaching photography. I love talking. No, I don't love photography.
You love this image.
I like this image. I think it's a good image.
We caught you out.
No, I think it's a good image. But if I lost it, if it got deleted, I wouldn't care.
That's right. You've put it on your Instagram. It's there.
Well, it's there for life now.
Meta's got it now.
But it's I'm past it. But as a lesson, it's a good lesson. Yeah, I do love sharing knowledge. I do love sharing opinions. I do love pontificating about what I think about stuff. And I think there's in between the and actually just below there's me with the guys just having an iPhone shot. Just me and the guy. So this is the group. So we sit and spent some time with these guys, and the money we donated to take their photographs goes to their community, and and set up that they send me daily blessings still. Good people. So that experience, when you can connect with people like that, and it's an ongoing experience, I think it's quite rewarding.
I love that you were, despite the fact that you had just finished sort of setting up this complex posed environmental portrait, whatever you would call it, / lighting workshop, all in one, but you were still ready to capture a fleeting moment, not just with your gear being ready, but your mindset looking for that. Like you were aware of the situation and you were ready to go. And that's what I mean by you love photography, because if you were purely just teaching photography and running a workshop and stuff, you wouldn't have taken that photo, and you wouldn't have been aware to take it, I think.
You do, because you want to show off. So you want to be able to show. It's a matter of having content. So it's a matter of having the content. You need to be. There's an expectation, especially if you lead tours. There's an expectation that you produce X amount of quality images at any given time. But here's the thing about, especially in places like India, you can never switch off because something's happening all the time. If you the minute you relax is the minute you miss a photograph, and it may be a once in a lifetime opportunity that you've just missed. And I think photography is a little bit like fishing. In that you never really think about the ones that you've captured so much as the ones that you miss. The fish that got away is always bigger than the fish you caught. And I still to this day remember this guy down in Hobart who had the best face in the world I've ever seen, and the most amazing ears, and his face looked like he just come out of a coal mine, and he was sitting on the side of the road, and I can still perfectly visualize him, and he wouldn't let me take his photo. And I respect that. I'm not going to go across and sneakily take his photo. I respect that. But to this day, I think about the missed opportunity, the lost fish, more than the ones I did capture that trip, which I caught lots of good ones. But that's one that stands out the most. I think that's what drives people to keep shooting as well, is that next opportunity, that next chance to capture something hopefully good or great.
David says he sees a photo in your Instagram that reminds him of Steve McCurry. She's got a yellow. Is that?
I think you'll find
Geppetto?
Steve McCurry's reminiscent of my work. I think
That's what I was going to say. if anyone's copying anyone, is this?
Yeah,
this must be the one.
There was a little bit of the Afghan girl in that, only because of the intensity of the stare and the and the eyes. I guess and of course the fact that the face is covered. So there certainly is. Again, I've seen a dozen Steve McCurry images probably over the years. I've never actually. I don't really follow. There's only one photographer in the world that I don't know I've interviewed on a podcast, but I can't say that means I know him. It was a Canadian called David Duchemin, Duchemin, and not necessarily because I find his photography fascinating, but I do like the way he thinks about photography, and I think that's. I would rather be influenced by people's words about how they feel about the art that they do than be influenced by their photos, because their photo. If I get too influenced in their photos, it might influence how I shoot, to make me kind of mirror what they do rather than just shoot what I feel. But if I can think their lessons, their thought processes, their philosophies are in my head, then that kind of works when you're out shooting. It kind of ticks along in the back of the brain and stuff comes in. But yeah, I think anytime you photograph people, cultural type photographs, and you shoot in tight like I do, a lot of my photos are just head. I do get that Steve McCurry comparison a bit because it's a similar kind of frame and subject matter and color. And that Afghan girl image is beautiful. But if we dissect it, and in fact, it's the only in all the workshops I run, the only photograph I ever showed that's not mine is the Afghan girl of Steve McCurry, because I talk about what I believe one of the strong elements that make that photograph work is the repetition of color. So she has, under her red shawl, she has a green cloth on. She has green eyes as a green background. So that repetition of three greens, I think, strengthens the image beyond what would have been if it was a different color under here and different colored wall. I think if we didn't have that three greens, we wouldn't know that image as anywhere near as well as we do. So I think why does so if you look here, the green. We've really only got, other than skin color, we've got green and red, and they're the perfect color contrast with each other. But I think that repetition of color really strengthens the image. So it's not about the girls, not about the face. I think there's something inherent in the way we see color and makes us feel that element really helps lift the shot. But if we analyze it, it's other than obviously her eyes and expression make the photo pretty strong, but the lighting's fairly simple. The compositions, there's not a lot of words being wasted. Again, there's a lot of similarity in that, in the way I shoot. But the other photos I've seen of Steve's, this is more of an outlier in some ways to his shots than a lot of his work, which tends to be a little bit more inclusive to environment.
He does a bit of this style of thing, but you're right. He's got a very broad career as well. Many different things. So it's like this becomes a super well-known shot. But I've got one of his books. I know you don't have books, but I've got one of his books, and I've been flicking through it a lot. And he's done so much work over the years, and it's not all just like this. It's not like it's a book full of close-up headshots.
And I think I can imagine, if I put myself into Steve's brain, that he doesn't set out to shoot that shot the same way I don't set out to shoot an isolated shot. I set out to shoot the least complex story, the story. And if the story is complex with lots of things going on, then I'm going to include it as best as I can. If it's a thing with only one or two things going on, then I'll try and include those two or three elements. If it's just a person, you'll always be paring it down to the tightest, strongest story you possibly can. It's like writing a book. You're not going to put extra words in just for the sake of fleshing out the book. It needs to be concise and well-written story. And I think a photo has to be the same. You need to get rid of any of the words that sort of add fluff to it. And I think the simpler you make the story, it's more accessible to more people, because more people will read a Dr. Seuss book than they will read War and Peace, because one is an accessible, easy book. One is a commitment to get involved in. I think if we want to make our photos more accessible, we need to cater to an audience from that's as broad a range as possible. Yeah, if that makes sense.
It does. It does. Cam Blake wants to know if it was Noel Blake that was the guy with, I think the guy from Tassie that you couldn't photograph. I'm pretty sure that's what his reference is.
Well, Noel used to be my Olympus rep. So Cam, I've known Cam's dad before Cam was born. And so my mother used to run my photographic department in the city in Melbourne here for many years. And so Noel, Cam's dad, was her Olympus rep. And then when she dragged me into the industry, I was thrown out of school at the age of 14, so I was a bit of a disruptive influence apparently. And so she dragged me into a camera store, as I said earlier. And so he became my Olympus rep. So for many years, I knew Noel. He was just a funny character. And then of course Cam was born. And then years later, I actually employed Cam. Cam came to work in the camera store I was running in those days. And so I've known Cam for many years. And yeah, I said I don't love landscape photography per se, but I do love Cam's approach to landscape photography. Yeah, his no nonsense, no garbage approach is I find very appealing as well. So he's a good guy. So if you ever want to do a landscape tour, if you guys don't do them, pop on one of Cam's ones. They're pretty good.
They do run great tours. I think they've still got a few spots available for 20. So Cam's got tours. They've got the Down South photo.
That's right.
Tours.
Down South photo show. Oh, tours as well.
I think they've got tours on that website. So you can head there and check out what they've got coming up for 2025. And maybe they might even have some early 2026 ones on there as well. I'm not sure. But I think they did have a few spots left on a few of them. So go and check it out if you're interested in experiencing it.
If you're if you're a newer photographer, it's very easy to get bogged down with the complexities, and you hear so much opinions on how to complicate photography. And I think one of my strengths, and certainly one of Cam's strengths, is to strip it back down to keep it as simple as possible. Capture great images simply, not make it hard for yourself. And I think more people will progress in the photographic career or the enjoyment and the hobby, if they're introduced in a way that it's simple and accessible, and they can get good results without feeling that they must have every single piece of equipment on the planet to do that shot. And I think that's what Cam does a lot in his landscape stuff. That's certainly what I do in my teaching of light. So,
speaking of landscape photographers called Cam Blake, he did have a question earlier unrelated to landscape photography, which was, does Glynn have any advice on how to ask/approach a subject to photograph them that doesn't come across as creepy or intimidating?
Yes, I've got an opinion on everything, and I'm more than happy to share it. Yeah,
share it. Tell us.
Yeah. So, as I said, I sort of briefly alluded to earlier, I walk everywhere with a stupid grin on my face. Yeah, just walk along looking like an idiot. It sort of represents the inner me, and you walk along and just try and engage with people's eye to eye. So, as you're walking along, if you look at someone, you got a big smile on your face and the happy eyes, and they look at you and they react with a smile, or you can tell when someone's connecting with you, even just for a fraction of a second. That's a person you can probably approach. If you're looking at someone and they look at you with daggers in their eyes, you're going to stay away. So straight away, you're kind of sifting out the wheat from the chaff just by your walking, how you look at people and how they look back at you. The next thing is not to walk up, "Hi, I'm Glynn, I'm a photographer, can I take your photo?" Because that's the last. Oh, what is that? Especially in the West, where people are places like India, where personal space and personal boundaries is a very different concept than what we have in the West. You can get away with more of that sort of stuff. But in the West, if you're walking down the streets of, I don't know, Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and just walk up to someone and say, "Can I take your photo?" They're going to barriers are going to come up straight away. So the first thing to do is, if someone smiled and looked at you, is to walk up and say, "Hi, my name's Glynn. What's your name?" And if let's say they're running a food stall or something, they've got a fruit and veg stall on the street. oh, have you been here long? Ask them a bit about themselves. Find out something. If they're stationary and they're not busy with customers, if they're stationary in one spot, they've got time to talk to you. The same thing when you're walking down the street. If you see someone walking really fast down the street, you're not going to stop and approach them to ask to take their photo because they're obviously in a hurry. If you get someone walking on the street and they're kind of doing a bit of this and they're strolling along, well, they've obviously got time. So you can get the vibe of people. But you walk up and you try and find out something about people. It only needs to take a minute to do this. And then I will always say, look, I'm a photographer. I love photographing the people I meet. Is it okay if I could take a photograph of you to remember this moment? And that's really what most of it is to remember the moment, to remember the time I've shared. And here's the thing, they're either going to say yes or no. And the worst thing they can usually say to you is no. And that's not such a bad thing. It's okay for someone to say no. You might, like Mr. Coalface down at Hobart, you might regret that for the rest of your life, but that's what keeps pushing you for the next one anyway, though. And look, I've got to say, it's hard to do. It's hard to walk up to complete strangers. But if you don't ask, you don't get. And you could stand back with your 200mm lens and sneakily take photos and put your camera down the second they turn around and look towards you because you feel guilty. But if you don't ask, you don't get. And the joy when it all works. Yeah. And here's the thing: when someone says yes, don't rush. Don't all of a sudden, I'm going to take a photo because they've said yes. They've said yes. They'll give you a couple of minutes. And it's always being, and it's, once again, someone's just walking down the street and I've seen them and I want to photograph them and I found a place I want to shoot. I'll say, look, I really want to take a beautiful photo of you. Do you mind if we just step to this doorway here? It'll be a better shot. Just move them to where the light's going to make them look good or bad if that's the kind of face they've got. But so ask. Don't be afraid to do so. It's okay if they say no. I'll have a bit of an anecdote, and people find this one a little bit hard to believe. But growing up as a teenager, I wasn't the most attractive of kids. I know, hard to believe. I know. But I found out very early if I went to the blue light disco, and which is the old underage no drinking one, and if I asked 10 girls to dance and 9 said no, but 1 said yes, my night was made. I only need one girl to say yes to a dance, and I'm having a good time. I forget pretty quickly the 9 that said no. Same when you're out walking the streets to photograph people. It doesn't matter if half the people say no. If you get 2 or 3 people to say yes, you've got a chance to craft one really great image that day. And that's not something you can say always because you're shooting landscapes. Everything's out of your control. Shooting people, everything's in your control. So you have a chance to craft one beautiful image because someone said yes. So take the chance. It's okay. But I'll tell you this. If your experience is anything like mine, the more you do it, the less easy it doesn't get. It never gets easy to walk up to a complete stranger and ask to take their photo. It's always hard. I've been doing it for decades. I struggle every single time. I'm nervous. But if I don't ask, I don't get. Yeah.
Do you ever? I reckon that's amazing advice as well for those of us that, maybe apprehensive about just chatting to strangers. Because the other thing is too, you can practice this as well by chatting to strangers and maybe not asking them for a photo to start with. If you're scared, just go and chat to someone who's selling something on the side of the road or whatever. Ask them about their day. Ask them about whatever, and then move on. Like just baby steps. If you're worried about the ask. Do you ever?
Every time we go shopping, we have an opportunity to do that.
Yes.
Every time you go into a shop, there's an opportunity.
Every hour. Yeah.
Connect with people a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you ever take photos of people without their permission? Obviously you do in wider shots, but when you're within proximity to someone, where it's kind of you're crossing that boundary of, where there's an edge of, okay, now that I'm kind of within whatever it might be, 3 or 4 meters of this person, I probably should talk to them first? Or do you sometimes capture a sneaky one? Like what are your rules, your own personal ethics?
It's always, every situation's different. So I assess every situation. Funnily enough, that lady in yellow we just showed before was a semi-surreptitious shot. It's a 200mm lens shot from some distance, but I'm watching her for a while. She knows I'm watching her. There's actually a series of different shots of her taken. So she's aware of me, and that moment she's looked straight at me and bang, I've taken a shot. But if we just back out of the frame just for a sec, if we go to the should be to go to the full. So the one next to is her as well.
Oh.
But in a bigger. So she's selling these strands of string, or I don't know what they are. And they're on like a stick with a T section. It's got all these things, and she's just twirling it back and forth. So sometimes those strands are almost covering her face, sometimes they're not. So I'm just sort of shooting back and forward between this moment. But she's obviously, sometimes she's looking at me, sometimes she's not. When I'm shooting something like that, I tend to stick around for a few minutes, let people get used to me being there. And once they're kind of over the shock of me standing, a 6'2" fat white man standing in front of them with a camera, once they start to relax, the photography becomes a lot easier. So my philosophy is this: I will stand back and shoot if what's happening in front of me is dynamically interesting enough that my connection or my introducing myself to that destroys the moment.
Yeah.
So shoot the things that are dynamically interesting. But if some guys just stand there leaning against the wall, it's not an interesting shot. So I'm going to walk up and talk to them. So it's always trying to find that balance all the time of knowing when to interact and when not to interact. And it's hard. It's kind of no right or wrong, I guess. It's play it by your own ethics. So I will shoot from a distance, but if that person turns and looks at me, I will never be the person who pull. I'm doing it with enough confidence that that what I'm doing is not disrespectful. Yeah, I find if you're pulling your camera down as soon as someone touches you, you're not feeling right about what you're doing. Yeah. Whereas I remember in my early days, I'd be shooting people in the street with my 200mm lens, and I'd be, I want to shoot this guy, and I'm shooting as they're walking towards me. But then as they walk past me, I'd keep shooting. I'd still be aiming through the camera and pretending to take photos beyond them. I wasn't taking a photo of you. I was taking a photo of that pole, you know. Because there was a guilt factor in what I was doing. So it was always and sometimes you don't want to be seen to be taking photos because it also, like this woman's stare, we've changed the scene completely from her just trying to find someone to buy her rope to being observed. Yeah, as soon as you're observed, it does change the story quite a lot, which means it's going to change your approach to what the shot's going to be as well. So there's lots. It's very complex. As Paul says there, it's easier to do street photography in people in other countries other than Australia. If you're scared of photographing people, go to India. They'll call you over and say, "Come and take my photo." Yeah, they'll break you of your habit. But I do this in America, which is traditionally a more suspicious place at times, depending on the state you're in. And I find the approach works just the same there. If you just be a person first, you tend not to go too far astray. And I said, but I do these shoots in Melbourne. I do them in all around Australia when we'll accost people in the streets all the time. In fact, one of my favorite images I've ever taken was taken by a guy walking past a workshop, and we've grabbed him and forced him to be the model. It's take advantage of as many a time have we discarded our model at a workshops to photograph some random guy walking past or person walking past because they're more interesting than the subjects we've got in front of us.
Yeah. You go on. I've got a few other questions, but they're going to derail what we're talking about. So keep talking.
When you were talking earlier about chatting to people first rather than sort of just jumping in and trying to say, like, let me take your photo. Are you doing that like with camera in your hand? Is the camera in your backpack? Is it like...
Yeah. The camera's never in the backpack. So I always walk around with, I'm an ambassador for Black Rapid straps. So I always have two, sorry about that. So I have two Black Rapid straps around my shirt, so a bandolero style. And I have a camera with a 70 to 200 on one side and a 15 to 30 on a camera on the other side.
Yeah, so it's quite obvious what you're doing.
Yeah, I'm very obvious. There's no mistaking that what I'm doing. Because you can't afford, especially in dynamically happening places, you can't afford your camera not to be in your hand because you will miss. You have seconds sometimes to take an interesting shot, and it's gone. So it's got to be ready all the time. So I have very, very specific settings I have when I'm walking around, and then I shoot pretty much everything on auto. auto-ish, except until I'm actually crafting a particular shot, then I'll slow down and shoot manual. But I basically ISO do all my lifting for me. I set a fixed shutter speed, a fixed aperture, and auto ISO for the majority of my walk around stuff.
Yeah. So you sort of probably what aperture?
F8
priority.
Yeah, F8. Okay. No, I shoot manual, but it's 250 shutter speed, F8, and auto ISO.
Yeah.
So I've got a shutter speed I know I can generally be okay with. I've got an aperture that if I haven't quite nailed focus, it's going to be okay. Because literally you have fractions of a second. Like the guy with the, and that's why the photograph with the guy lighting up the joint worked, because the camera's ready for to shoot with a fraction of a second notice, and it's generally everything's going to work out okay.
Yep.
We will dig into gear because I've got it listed here,
shoot.
and there's been a few comments about not asking you what. So this, Cam and David from San Francisco were making jokes earlier about who's gonna ask what camera brand he's using, not me. And then Cam said, whatever brand it is, it must be a great camera, because we were looking at some of your images, which obviously it's all the camera.
It's not the tool; it's the tool using it, as I always say. Look, I personally, I'm very non-brand conscious. Okay, so first up, to be clear, I'm a Tamron lens ambassador. I'm a global ambassador for Tamron lenses. So I do work for them around the world. But because of so sometimes I'll be shooting Sony for them because they're launching a Sony camera. I might be shooting Nikon, but my normal camera gear is Canon. But Canon old school DSLR, not Canon mirrorless, because I've got big hands. I want a big camera, and I'm old, and that's what I'm used to. But I don't, honestly, the camera's a box that goes click, click. I don't really care about it. A lens is a lens. I don't care if it's a Tamron lens, a Sigma lens, a Nikon, a Sony, a Canon. They're all within a hair's breadth of doing the same kind of thing. There are exceptions, of course, but and I don't shoot primes. I only shoot zooms. So if you give me a 70-200 2.8 in any brand, I'm probably going to get a pretty good image. You give me a 24-70 2.8 in any brand, I'm probably going to get a pretty good image. Unless you put the same image shot with two different lenses and maybe even two different cameras right next to each other, blown up to 24 by 36 inches, you're not going to see the difference. So the gear itself isn't particularly important. The reason I use Tamron lenses, though, is because I get them for free. Always good. But it's when I started out doing workshops 15 years ago, or more, 17 years ago, something like that now, I was actually approached by a bunch of companies to say, we'd like you'd be an ambassador, will you use our gear? And Tamron came to me and said that. And my philosophy's always been, let's take a 70-200 2.8 in those days. It was $3,000 for a Canon one, and it was $1,000 for a Tamron one. Within a hair's breadth of being pretty good either way. And my philosophy has always been, I'd rather someone spend $1,000 on the camera and $2,000 to go somewhere to shoot than $3,000 in the camera and sit at home and look at it. You're going to get better photos going. So if you have all the money in the world, and buy whatever you damn well want, buy the most expensive, good on you. I'm happy for you. But learn how to use it, because the gear itself won't make you a better photographer. But you know, some people love driving. They might not be able to afford the best car, but they'll find a way to save for it because that's what gives them joy. Same with the camera. If you want to shoot with a Canon R1 or whatever it is, the most expensive Canon, and it takes you 2 years to save up for it, but that's where your joy is, do that. Do what makes you happy. Shoot with what makes you happy. Don't shoot thinking the gear is going to make you better, because it won't. That's right. If you shoot lots of low light, maybe there's one camera that's better in certain circumstances than others. If you have specific needs, buy a specific tool. Yeah. If you don't have specific needs, get an adjustable wrench that kind of does a bit of everything. Yeah. Well, brand A, buy what makes you. And the worst thing is you can never buy. I would never recommend anyone buy anything brand wise. Because if you've got your heart set on a Sony and I convince you to buy a Canon, every photo you ever take, you'll think, could it have been better with Sony? Even if it's the best photo you've ever taken, you'll be thinking, but it might have been even better with the Sony. Buy what makes you happy. It doesn't matter what anyone else says.
I think that's good advice. I think there's always a bit of push pull there with there's obviously an entire industry trying to drive people towards buying the latest and greatest, which can be a problem. But there is also that other way of like, the camera doesn't matter. You shouldn't, you should just be a better photographer and stop worrying about your gear. And like you say, if you want it and you can afford it and it brings you joy, well, get it, enjoy it, have fun.
But don't be the all the gear, no idea.
And don't think that will magically make you a better photographer.
Use some of that money, lots of money that you've got to find out how to shoot better as well.
Yeah, go on a photo tour to India.
Yeah.
When are you going to India, Justin?
Well, look, I want to go. I probably can't afford a Glynn workshop.
You could sell some gear. You could sell some gear. Justin has a lot of gear, Glynn.
I don't have that much gear.
Just anything on that shelf behind, just sell a couple of those. No way. Look, India's cheap to go to. It's cheaper. Well, it's cheap if you go. You can go cheap, or you can come with me.
But you can't have both.
You can have both. Yeah. Cheap, fast, or good. Pick any two. Yeah.
Tell me two things. Are you running an India workshop this year?
Not at the moment.
No.
I'm battling some health issues that are keeping me off the road for the moment, but I'm hoping to be early next year. I'm contemplating. I've got a specialist appointment tomorrow, funnily enough, and that might give me the all clear to start thinking further ahead.
Well, hopefully,
we'll see. But I'm also looking at Bangladesh as well, as another tour to there as well.
And if people want to keep an eye on that, they can obviously follow you on Instagram, Glynn Lavender.
Instagram, Facebook, Photo, Blue Sky. Yeah, all of them. Here's the thing. I'm the only person in the world with my name. There's no other person. Really? So if you just search up my name, you'll find me. It's not hard. I'm literally I'm what's called a Google whack. So the only existence of me on the planet. And some people say, thank goodness for that.
There's also links to all this stuff in the show if you're looking for it. But there's also the website is creativephotoworkshops.com.au. So that's another place you can keep an eye for tours getting released.
What I like about Instagram and Facebook is if you want to reach out and just ask me a quick question, do so. It's a very immediate way of connecting with people. And so if I'm always happy to. Yeah, and I was talking to a guy last night on the app Photo, FOTO. He's off to India in a couple of weeks. His first ever time. So he was just asking me some questions about gear and what to expect and stuff. If people are going somewhere like India and want just some advice or whatever, reach out. I'm happy to help.
Perfect. That's why I've invited you on the show today. I'm thinking about going to India.
Excellent.
Sometime in the next 12 months, probably towards the back half of this year. I did a trip to Vietnam, and I'd been before, but we did a trip to Vietnam in October last year, like last minute, cheap flights, just cruising around. And I had a ball taking photos because the environment and the people and everything is just so different, it stimulated my senses of wanting to take photos. And I think India might provide a similar, probably more overwhelming experience than Vietnam.
Probably a tenfold increase in the joy. And here's the thing I find about that. When you start getting that feeling and you start taking a couple of photos, that leads to you wanting to do more and more and more. It's like a snowball that just slowly builds and builds. So your trip should just get better and better. Every day you start forgetting about the fear of shooting people, and you start just get involved in the culture more. India is a fabulous place because I've shot in Vietnam, and not everyone is welcoming in Vietnam. Especially in the cities, especially the street, because they have 500 cameras a day put in their face. Yeah, so you're gonna get, if you're sitting there selling veggies on the side of the street every day, 500 cameras in your face every day, I'll get pissed off too. It gets a bit much. Yeah, we're in India. You got 1.4 billion people. I haven't shot all of them yet, but I'm trying. But there's so many people, and almost everybody wants to have their photo taken. Almost everyone. And they will call you over to shoot them, which is a different experience as well. So it very quickly just frees you up to enjoy the art of shooting people. But as I always say, again, make sure you slow down and the opportunity. I always say engage, disengage, re-engage. So get excited, but we're going to do a shot. Disengage. Where should we shoot it? How should we set it up? What lens do I need? Where should we stand? What's the light like? Re-engage. Oh, it's fabulous, and engage the shoot. But you've got to take that moment or two to disengage to solve all the problems that will happen if you don't.
Yeah.
So where you think about going in India? Tell me what your thoughts are.
No plans. I've got no idea. It's a massive country, and I don't know where to start.
So reach out, and I'll hook you up with my personal guide, who's he's trained in the art of dealing with photographers because I've trained him. So I can hook you up. If he's not available, he'll certainly recommend someone if he's not on tours already. But it all depends on how much time. Here's the thing: Delhi gets. People flying to Delhi do like 1 or 2 days in Delhi and disappear. I could shoot for a month in Delhi. Yeah, Delhi's a phenomenal place to shoot, and there's so many opportunities to shoot. Are you going by yourself, or are you going with family?
No, so I'll take my partner Elena. We'll make it a trip. And the way we kind of work, because we're like how we tend to travel. We're pretty active. Elena's not a photographer, so she won't want to be doing like mega photo shoot, and I'm not that either. So the way it worked in Vietnam is I'd usually take my camera out most of the times we go out on the street, but definitely if it's like morning or evening, which is usually when we want to go for a decent length walk anyway in those kind of climates, weather-wise, and then we'll find a cheap hotel with a rooftop pool to cover that middle of the day. Part a bit of respite. So usually it's just cruising around in the morning or the evening with a camera and just seeing what excites me. It's actually, and we very rarely go to like spots, tourist spots, tours and stuff. Every time we've done one where it's one of those like, well, it's an 8-hour tour and the bus will pick you up and it takes you to this temple or pyramid or something that's out yonder, and then you end up we've never had a good time. I don't know if it's just that we get on the wrong tours or whatever. But it's
I don't think they'll ever be catered for someone who has a deeper want to know a bit more about the place and want to have a bit of a deeper connection with the place. I think if you can go there in a small couple of people or whatever and explore yourself, there's a lot more connection to a place. I like nothing more than I always go on a tour a couple of days early just to walk around and just inhale the place and get familiar with just to reinvigorate the experience of being in these places. And they always seem to be the days that mean the most because it's just been your adventure of exploring an area. But I would always say you have to go to Varanasi. Varanasi is one of the oldest continuously inhabited cities in the world, and it's where all the burning ghats where they burn the bodies on the banks of the river, and all the holy men are. It's an experience. It's brutal, but it's an experience to have. And Delhi, I said, it's so underrated. There's so much to do. There's so much life in this one of the busiest cities in the world. Mm-hmm. So if you just like walking around and experiencing life, it's a hell of a place to shoot.
Where would be the best place in Delhi, area-wise? This is something I always have trouble with, and I end up spending a lot of time trying to research. Like, where do we stay where we're not constantly having to try and transport ourselves around? Like if you want to do a lot of walking and just cruising around, where's the best suburb or area to stay in?
There's
Delhi?
a central area called Chandni, Chadni, Chandni, Chandni Chowk, Chowk. That's the main thoroughfare of downtown, the old town of Delhi. Mm-hmm. If you can find somewhere within a 10 or 15 minute walking spot of there, it's the hub and the hive of all of old India, old Delhi. Okay. And it's a bit of but you can catch a tuk-tuk, and it might be a 30-minute or 40-minute tuk-tuk out to some of the archaeological sites, which you'll want to see as well. But you can do 2 or 3 of those in a day and make a day trip out from Delhi. But if you want to be embedded in the life of Delhi, that's the place to be.
Yeah. Now, gear-wise, I think yourself and also a photographer we had on the podcast called John Street, who's a street photographer. I don't think it's his real name.
I should photograph Lavenders.
Both had recently. I recently talked about. I'm a prime shooter for a long time. I photographed with primes. I love the constraints of a fixed focal length. It seems to make me more creative. I know that makes no sense because you can just leave a zoom stuck at one focal length, but I don't know what it is. That's just it.
You got to work the way you got to work.
It started when Jim and I were shooting weddings together, and I think we just got so amazingly good. We wanted to make it harder on ourselves by not being able to zoom.
Absolutely.
But seriously, I think it helped fuel our creativity a little bit when you know once you're sort of pretty comfortable with the way a wedding day flows and using your camera and that kind of stuff, you start looking at ways to progress your images, and buying a prime is just what the internet tells you to do. So you do that, and then I really enjoy shooting with primes, but both yourself and John Street had talked about zooms for travel, and I took a few different lenses, and I even took a Leica Q3 to Vietnam, which funnily enough, I did 3 months with the Leica Q3 as my only camera when we traveled through the US, and I had a great time with it. Just one camera, fixed focal length. It was really minimal, and I think I needed that. But in Vietnam, I actually ended up mostly using my Canon R5 Mark II and 24 to 105 zoom.
Yeah.
It was just that everything was fast paced, and I wanted to be able to quickly do this, do that, and just capture fast moving action, candid stuff. So the zoom was great.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing wrong with prime lenses in travel photography. If you want to miss shots, prime lenses are perfect for that.
Exactly.
If you want to miss half the opportunities, shoot prime all you like. It's great. If you want to capture maybe 80% of the opportunities, shoot zoom.
That's
all
so
you're doing,
good.
you got a choice. Would a golfer carry around a golf bag with one club in it, or would he carry around all the clubs to do all the jobs?
Or would he find a club that changes?
Variable club.
It's just a variable club.
You're hampering yourself, and it's fine. Constraints can be good, but not if your goal is to get as many good shots as possible.
I think what the evolution is, and I think you're hinting at it, is that I liked primes when I was stuck in. This is going to sound negative. It's not meant to be negative, but stuck shooting a wedding and in environments that I'm familiar with.
Of course, the distances, all the angles you're working with. Yeah, of course. Yeah. And that's, again, a bit like a golfer. You look, a pro golfer can look at how far away, exactly the club he needs for that distance he's going to hit the ball. And as a wedding photographer, this is the lens I need for that shot, because that is the lens. I completely get it. When you walk around a corner and 1,000 people walk all over you, you're not prepared for that. You can't plan the unplannable. That's right. And that's why a zoom. Yeah, but I said I don't shoot between 24 and 100. The lens that you use the most, I never have on my camera ever.
That's so interesting, and it's where I found myself kind of living in that mid range. Yeah. I guess that's not. Yeah, but that sort of. I'm thinking about Canon actually released a really lightweight 28 to 70 2.8.
Yeah,
it's weighs 400 grams, and it's obviously that's the bit that you would throw away from your lens.
Absolutely, absolutely.
But I love shooting at 28, and I love shooting at 50. It'd be great if it was a little bit longer, because I actually do like getting a little bit of compression as well. So you use the 35 to 150 a lot?
No, I did in the last trip, because I was shooting for Sony stuff. I normally shoot 15 to 30 and 70 to 200. And the 15 to 30 is usually on 15, and the 70 to 200 is usually on 200. So most of my shots are at 15 or 200. I'm an extreme on either end.
So you could have two primes.
I could have two primes, pretty much, yeah. But occasionally you do need to pull back or zoom in a tiny bit. But
do you think? Sorry, Glynn.
Go.
Do you think, say you are shooting at 15 or you are shooting at 200? Do you often find that maybe you could be shooting slightly wider or slightly longer?
I carry. I shoot portraits up to 600 mil, and I love shooting portraits at 600 mil.
Are they from the hotel room?
Yeah.
Those
do you have a
walkie-talkie from the balcony?
But there's a feel that, like all lenses, they have a certain feel to how the image looks, and I love the way a 600 mil. And I'm all about controlling background. So the zooms to me, because I'm a people photographer, I can move usually. If there's space, I can move. I can stand anywhere I want. So it's not about being closer or further away from the subject, but it's about how much of the story the background's told. So I will shoot a 600 mil lens because I want to shoot a very, very narrow slice of the background as my entire background. Conversely, I'll shoot 15 because I want to tell the whole story of the background. And then I'm, up in someone's face to do that. So I'm the zoom effectively by where I stand. But to me, it's all about background. Every part of the background is a word, and how many words do I want to use? And I'm trying to eliminate as many things that aren't necessary to the shot. So if I randomly meet some person walking down the street, I'll try and eliminate background as much as humanly possible, because that background has no context to who the person is. If I meet someone who's selling something at a stall, that foreground and background is everything about who they are as a person on that particular day. So I want to include that. So it's always what is the story always, and sometimes it's just the person, sometimes it's everything.
So
that makes
then,
sense. So for your trip, take them all. Take it all. Buy it all. Take it all. Buy it all. Take it all.
No, I need to keep things simple when I'm traveling, and that's why I end up just trying to pare myself down to the Leica Q3, and I did enjoy that very much for national parks and all that kind of stuff, cruising around the US. But yeah, just the pace of Vietnam and the type of photos I was taking, the zoom it worked for me, and I enjoyed it.
I have another slightly funny anecdote. Speaking of shooting things like the Leica Q3, I used to be sponsored a bit by Ricoh, and so they used to give me GRD3 digital cameras.
Nice.
So I was, and one of the great things about it is it's a fixed wide at 28mm lens, so it's a reasonable range to work with, but it's completely silent shutter, so you could take photos when you didn't think people knew you were taking photos. So one day I was walking down Harlem in New York City, and on the stoop were all these like thug-looking guys, about 8 or 10 guys who looked absolutely just murderous criminals is the best description of them. And they looked fabulous. They looked absolutely fabulous. So I've kind of got the GRD3 out and down by my side, and I'm casually walking past, paying no attention to them, and going snap, 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 snap. And because you can't hear anything, it's a silent shutter. And all of a sudden I hear, "Oi, how'd the photo come out?"
Oh, yes.
Yelled from the bench. And I've just kept on walking. And then a couple of seconds later, there's this bang on my shoulder. And I turn around, and this guy's and I'm 6'2", and this guy's 6'5" and 350 pounds. And he's looking down on me, and he goes, "I know who you are." I'm going, "Really?" He goes, "You're a Hollywood scout, aren't you? Here looking for locations." I've gone, yes, I am. He goes, "Let me show you some spots." So this guy took me around for the next hour around these laneways, alleyways, and these buildings where murders had happened, and these buildings, all this sort of stuff. And it was a fabulous time, but all because I sneakily took, as sneaky as I thought I was being, I was so completely obvious I was taking their photo. But
man,
that's crazy. It always stands out in my head about trying to be sneaky. We don't get away with it as often as we think we do.
People are pretty intuitive with that sort of stuff
these days, especially when people are photographing everything, But funny enough, that fear and embarrassment turned into just a cool afternoon with a great guy,
and it's funny too, because it's probably, and you never know, you got to take each moment as it comes and make a judgment. But you probably could have just stopped and asked those guys if they mind if you took their photo, and they probably would have said, "Yeah, no worries."
Exactly, exactly right. Yeah, but that was a bit more nervous back in those days, a bit more, and I wasn't feeling in my safe element and all that kind of stuff. And but I had a kid come up to me in Delhi and put a gun against my head, and he just stood there, and I just stood there, and his mate standing in front of him, and I'm like, no one's saying a word. So I took my camera off around my neck, handed it to his friend, put my arm around the guy, and said, "Take our photo." So he's got this photo of this gun against my head, and took the camera out and said, "Thanks, guys," and walked off. Yeah, funny things happen when you travel.
That is a weird situation.
My wife doesn't like that photo, funny enough. No. But I still have no idea. I think they were just mucking around. But it might not have been a real gun. I was going to say,
you don't know if it was just a really good replica or a real gun. If it had any
tried
ammo
not
in
too hard
it. Don't just act natural.
Yeah, it was kind of
Speaking of safety, all right. So when I do travel, I usually like to have the camera just slung across my body with a lucky camera strap. We're 139 minutes, an hour and 39 minutes into this podcast. It's time for an ad. If you guys want a camera strap, go to
lucky there, guys. If they can't do it, no one can. No, it doesn't work, does it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. We'll take that.
I'll do. We're going to take that.
Are you still lucky, punk? Well, yeah. So,
if you want a leather camera strap, head over Lucky Straps. You can use Justin as a code. You can use Jim as a code. You can use Greg as a code, even though he's not here. Any of those will work.
Yeah. You can use Madam Lash as a code.
I'll give you 15% off. Hey, you can buy them and do whatever you want with them. That's no problem. They are not the camera straps that Glynn uses, but we can't talk about the camera straps he uses on here because we're sponsored by Lucky Straps. No, I'm just kidding. He uses Black Rapid, which are like more of a, what would you call it? Like sling style where the camera moves along the strap, whereas our straps are attached to each side of the strap, and it's designed where you can still lift it up like a sling, but it moves. The strap moves with the camera. As opposed to just the camera moving along the strap. Anyway, you will figure it out.
Yours are prettier.
I like to. They are prettier.
Yours are much prettier.
They're leather. And they'll last forever. And ever. You can hand them down to grandkids or something. You can get your name put on them. It's pretty cool. Huh? Bad for business.
Bad for business.
Nah, it's not. Not when there's people like David from San Francisco who's got 14 cameras, because then he can just buy 14 of them and then hand them all down to a ton of
So don't have one of those easy clip attachment things because you just click on there. Don't do that.
Well, we do. We do have that.
Bad thing.
Damn it. Should make them harder to attach.
There's just like a cable tie, one use only.
That's it. Once it's on, it's on.
Yeah.
I have actually thought of stitching a strap onto one of my cameras permanently because I want to get rid of, like, I'm minimal hardware, like get rid of as much as possible. I just want it to be like the neatest, cleanest. I'm all about the way that it feels around your hands and stuff. I don't want any extra dangly bits or anything like that.
Ever been tested for autism?
Would you like a free report?
Can I get one of these reports done?
I'll get my kid onto it.
See if he's got time. What was I going to say? Yeah, so I like to walk around with the camera out most of the time. Is it safe to do that in India? Obviously, there's your general, like, hey, be aware of your surroundings, and anywhere in the world can be safe or unsafe. You can go to Melbourne, and sometimes it's not the right time to be just cruising around with a camera out. But in general, I've found most countries that we've traveled to that I feel pretty comfortable rocking around with a camera. What's India like?
I'll just preface this by saying the most unsafe city I've ever been in the world was Brisbane. The place I felt the least safe in the entire world. Brisbane on a Saturday night downtown, just crazy. India's perfectly fine. There's as you say, caveat with not being stupid. I mean, like one night I was walking down some laneways, market laneways, about 11 o'clock at night, pitch black, except for the stores are open. Lots of people still buzzing around because they're open, very late. And I'm walking completely lost, and I heard someone yelling out to me, and so you ignore them because they're trying to sell you stuff. So you keep walking, and then eventually, after calling my name 3 times, this guy taps me on the shoulder and says, "Don't get down there, you'll get killed." So it's like, well, no worries, mate. I'm a big 6'2" Australian, so I turned around and went straight back to the hotel. But that's the only time, other than the kid with the gun against my head, where I felt, oh God, maybe this is a bit silly, just wandering. And wandering aimlessly around dark lane, enclosed laneways where you have no idea where you are by yourself is probably never a good idea anywhere. But I've never felt anything but safe in India. It's the people are beautiful. A caveat to us, but the 99.5% of the people are just beautiful people. They're welcoming. They're as curious. This is why I love going to places where people are as curious about you as you are about them. And you'll get that in India in spades. So when you go to a place and where they love to talk to you, they love to find out about you. They want to take you to their uncle's rug shop, all the good stuff. But that it is a beautiful place to travel around. And as you would anywhere in the world, being sensible, you should have no issues whatsoever. Having said that, this is not a foolproof claim.
Anything can happen.
Because 0.5% of 1.4 billion people is still a lot of people.
That's right.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
right. And you always got to be wary and be safe in your own,
Be
your own
sensible.
surroundings.
Yeah.
But I've found pretty much everywhere. The only place I felt more unsafe than normal was Mexico, and I still can't put my finger on why. I don't know if
Just
it was
a
a
vibe.
story in my own head, but there was something about the vibe that made me less excited to take my camera to some places, and even just in general. It was the small beach resort island that we went to that had constant patrols of people in the back of utes with machine guns all day and all night. And I was like, you wouldn't have that if you didn't need it.
Yeah.
And that's what I think that's what set me on edge, that kind of stuff. There was a lot of that.
But yeah, if you can remain reasonably open, you can generally feel your intuition kind of saying, yeah, it's probably not a good idea. And maybe not get so engrossed in shooting that you're not paying attention to surroundings and stuff like that. It's just reasonable common sense. But I always say if you do feel a bit of an intuition about something, it might be airy fairy, but don't disregard it. We're picking up stuff that we don't necessarily know. What our brain is far more powerful than we use it for. So if it's kind of giving you a bit of a clue that, hey, just be on alert. Yeah. What's the worst that can happen? You're on alert.
Yeah, that's right. Better to be a little bit safe than sorry. Roger Highland in the chat says, when I'm in new places, I like getting up really early, going out for an hour or two, and then evening's great, especially when people are out eating or socializing on the street. How's that resonate with India and Delhi?
Spot on. My favorite thing to do is to get up before dawn. Especially when not on tour, get up before dawn, just go stand on a street corner and just watch the place come. Especially when the street's got vendors that are going to eventually show up and start selling stuff. Just stand there and watch the world come alive. Watch the city wake up. And you get your street sweepers and your people heading to work and people opening up their shops and setting up their fruit store. It's just a fabulous place just to stand and feel. And if you're staying in this hotel for 3 or 4 days and you do that every single morning, again, you become part of. They're used to seeing you, and you start getting opportunities to shoot that you may have missed on the first day or two. But I think it's a fabulous thing to do. Is just to go and walk. My very, very first trip to India, I literally got off the plane, went straight to the hotel, put my stuff down, walked out of the hotel, walked around the corner, and this lady into a laneway, and this lady invited me to sit down and have chai tea with her. She was born so I sat down. She made me chai. Her brother was sitting next to me, and he was a local politician and travel agent. And he wanted me to sign a petition and go on a tour. And his uncle was ironing clothing about probably 10 feet further up the laneway using an old coal-powered iron. So within minutes, you get out there, you walk in the streets and just feel the place and accept those sort of little opportunities. And straight away, wow, this is a special place where everyone's so welcoming and everyone's so friendly. And they were colourful people and they were interesting people. And I took half a dozen photos in my first 5 minutes there that I still fondly remember, And that's, I think, to me, the most important thing about the photo is that it makes us remember fondly the experience we had, not just how good the photo is or isn't. That the photo doesn't have to be good; it has to be connected.
Well, you don't like any of your photos.
Yeah, I was going to say
exactly.
But maybe do you like the connections in your photos, and the photos are just a reminder of the connections?
No, the photos remind me of the feelings, and I remember every sound, every smell, every moment. But when I look at the photo, it's like a door that opens up to that memory, and without the photo, you forget them. So the great thing about photography is it connects you with that.
Sorry, I think that's what I'm.
Yeah, but the photo itself, I'm not enamored by the photo. Yeah, but I'm enamored by what that connection does for me.
Yeah. So maybe that's where your not love, but love of photography is that you don't necessarily love the image, but what it brings back, as you're saying, the smells, the people, all of that.
Not the smelly people, but spot on.
Yeah.
But that's probably a great synopsis. Absolutely.
Yeah. So maybe you do love photography, but it's not the photo side of it. It's
it's always
what it means.
With people.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, I always say the cameras is a reason for the experience to happen. That gives me a justification to connect with people. I could probably do it without a camera in my hand, but I lead it as a crutch as an excuse to
sure.
randomly connect with people.
Yeah, but then also, how would you remember? Because
exactly,
if you met 50 people, you wouldn't necessarily remember.
I can't remember half what half of my girlfriends in my life look like. Let alone the people I randomly meet on the street. Yeah. I carry photos of my kids in my wallet just to be on the safe side. Oh yeah, that's them.
Yeah. Check. Before they get in the car, you hold the photo up. You're like, hang on a minute.
You're allowed in. Yeah. Check.
I've got some notes written down from, like I said, I listened to your, I actually listened to two podcasts that you did with Down South Photo Show. So if you guys want more, Glynn, if you just haven't had enough, Glynn, like I said, there's the Shutters Inc. podcast, which is the longest running podcast in the history of photography podcast. It's probably in the top 100 longest running podcasts.
We're on it's our 20th anniversary in May.
That's insane.
And I think we have 580 odd episodes, something like that. And there's 15 minutes of good content in there, so have fun finding it.
Good luck. It was in 2016 somewhere.
No, not all in one podcast. No, it's just 15 minutes spread out over 585 podcasts.
So there's plenty of Glynn there, and then there's two great episodes on. There might even be more. I don't know, on Down South Photo Show. So you can head over there and get probably more of Glynn's story. I decided not to dig into that side of it too much today because there's some great content out there about it already. But I wrote some notes down that I wanted to ask you about.
Sure.
One of them actually was about David Duchemin. You already brought him up anyway, but I was going to ask you, what specifically is it that attracts you to his way of thinking, or what could other people maybe get out of it? Why should people head over and see what he's got? What might be on offer?
Well, firstly, his philosophy of gear is not important resonates with me, because that's how I feel. So he reinforces my own beliefs, which is always a great reason for liking anybody, if they make you feel better about yourself. No, it's trying to understand well, again, he's predominantly a people photographer. Well, it's actually sort of moving into animals these days, but it used to be predominantly a people photographer. It's really about getting to the soul, without making it sound bad, the soul of the subject, which is the why we shoot, the what we want to get out of the shot, the what makes us feel good if we can understand. If you don't understand what you want out of a photo, it's hard to get it, and if you don't, and then it's hard to understand why you like a photo if you can't analyze the reasons behind what makes it good. It's got to be more than just surface. Oh, that's nice lighting, and isn't that an interesting subject? So learning more about storytelling, learning more about connection with people, learning more about understanding what light does to us, how we see different lights, how they make us feel. He does great stuff on understanding what the human eye sees in photographs first, second, third, fourth. So when you see light before dark, you see warm before cold, you see big before small, you see human before you see inanimate. There's all these elements that you understand, that you start to understand the psychology of looking at a photograph, that you can then implement. The balance of your shots can change when you start to implement some of those concepts. So it sounds a lot drier than it actually is, but there's a lot of that kind of philosophy around photography, more so than things. I would recommend, if anyone wants to start off into David Duchemin, he's got a book called Within the Frame. And that would be as a travel photographer, that would be my recommendation of where to start. He's got many books, but he does like weekly or little video chats as well, exposing his thoughts. So there's a wealth of content out there on him.
But I can't buy it. I'll find it somewhere. I might.
Amazon.com.au normally has his books. So
it's taken me to the wrong Amazon. I think that's the problem.
Yeah.
No,
but Within the Frame, I recommend anyone who comes on one of my tours to buy that book and read it before they come. To kind of get to stretch their way of thinking about photography beyond the box of the camera and the lens, and beyond oh, this is a great place. And here, this is one of the biggest fallacies of photography is we believe that if we go to a great place, we'll get great photos. And it's just not the case. It's a lot more to being in a good place to get a good photograph. The same again, just because the face of the person's great doesn't mean it's going to make a great photo. You've got to make it a great photo there within the frame. Don't like that photo. So I'm not so fair, but only because my CDO, I really need that guy between the blue door and the blue window. And even,
that would be it would be better, wouldn't it?
Balance it.
Yeah.
I said I suffer quite badly from CDO, which I think is a pretty good thing for a photographer to have. CDO, of course, being OCD, but in alphabetical order. Because who the hell would put it?
I was trying to figure it out while you were saying it. I'm like, there's something about this that's, you know.
Who would put OCD but out of order? I mean, that's just turning people's heads in. But yeah, so yeah. Again, his photography. Some of it I really like. Some of it I okay about. But his way of talking about photography is fabulous. So it's a fun. He does some nice animal stuff these days. He does underwater stuff and bears, and he was on leading a photo tour in India, and he fell off a wall and almost died and lost his lower part of one of his legs.
Whoa.
So it's kind of changed his. And the same wall he fell off, I think 3 people had died falling off that wall that year. So yeah, his stuff in Ethiopia, in Lalibela in Ethiopia, is exceptionally good. But definitely a worthwhile. But I guess again, it's not necessarily even about the image, but listen to him talk about the image. That's Varanasi in India. If you ever go there, just drying the laundry, and the guy down there is washing the clothes. And so if you put your clothing at the hotel laundry, that's where it ends up. On the tanks of one of the most polluted rivers in the world. I've shot this guy. I know this guy.
Really?
Yeah, it's so funny. Never seen that. I haven't seen that photo before. It's funny. There's two photos of his that he's photographed that I've photographed the same person, which is kind of funny.
Wow. Okay. So this is all Varanasi? Or...
This is all Varanasi. These shots
okay.
are, yeah.
So I've definitely...
I haven't seen these, but these are all Varanasi for sure.
It's on the list. Okay.
Yeah, it's a cool place. And with Varanasi, you just walk up and down. Spend time, give yourself time to be there, and to walk up and down the what's called the ghats or the banks of the river, and enjoy the life as it happens.
How touristy is it? It's
reasonably. It's
like
not
everywhere.
But it's more certain times of the day. It's touristy. Okay, so on the evening, this thing called an arti ceremony, which is to the river ceremony for the river Ganges, and that gets a lot of tourists come down for that. But a lot of the tourists are also local Indian tourists, people who travel from around India. India is fabulous for visiting their own country and seeing their own history and their own life. So that city's 6,000 years old. So early in the morning, you might get a bit of tourists. You mostly get photographers. During the day, not many because it gets a bit warm. And over the evening, you might get a few, but not many. Not many. It's not like wow. It's not like Delhi where you see a lot more. But even in Delhi, if you're walking the streets, you won't see an awful lot of foreigners. Because the foreigners arrive, they get in their bus, they go from A to B, B to C, C to D, D to E, and then back to the hotel. So they're on the bus, walk around the location, get back on the bus. They're not walking the streets. They're not exploring the place. So you can certainly, even in the incredibly busy place like Delhi, you can explore no problem at all. And that's one of the reasons I love going to Bangladesh. Bangladesh is very few Westerners go there. So you meet people who have never met a Westerner in real life. And you're such a shock to them. It's such a great human experience to connect with people again. I said people who are as curious about you as you are about them always leads to great opportunities to shoot.
Yeah.
Bangladesh is a bit like India 50 years ago or 60 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. And if anyone wants to go to Bangladesh, let me know and I'll hook you up with my mate who's a guide there. He's a fabulous photographer as well. So.
Wow. Well, it sounds like I want to go there, but I should probably go to India first because otherwise I'm jumping a level ahead, you know?
Yeah, Bangladesh is a hard place to travel. It's fairly brutal. It's not a place I would vacation.
Yeah.
It's a place I would go to shoot, but it's not a place I would take people to enjoy.
Yeah,
per se. Yeah, because it's hard. Yeah, it's said. I'm sure India 50 or 60 years ago was quite. Yeah, the infrastructure is harder. The roads are harder to get around. The traffic's pretty bad. There's not as many safe places to eat. Not as in safe as in just for our bellies. It's just because I love an anecdote. Last tour to Bangladesh, we were driving at one of our longest drive days. We were driving 5 hours down to Chittagong, and a road bridge had collapsed in front of us, and so the traffic was all banked up, and it was the only main road into town, and the bridge was gone. So we turned down this dirt track. There was basically farmers' tracks, so we drove down these farmers' tracks for like 6 hours to get around. But during that 6 hours, we had to drive through a fire that was going across the road. We had to drive through an elephant that wouldn't get off the road. It's just standing blocking the road. It was I say road, it was a track. And then all these guys came out of the bush wearing military camouflage gear and machine guns and surrounded the vehicle and got us all out. And there were terrorists, a terrorist brigade of the army out doing maneuvers in the middle of nowhere, and they saw this vehicle. So they thought to check to see, make sure we weren't trying to smuggle drugs and stuff. So I've got all these selfies of me with these guys with the machine guns.
Oh my gosh,
crazy!
But it was but funny things. And I always say, this is the first thing I say on every day of a tour. It's the things that go wrong is where your stories are when you travel. So I went to this place, we saw it and we left, no story. I was going to this place, the bridge collapsed, we rode down here, there was a fire, there was an elephant, there was army, it took us 6 extra hours. There's a hell of a story and a memory in that moment, because there's the stuff that goes wrong that really adds to trips. So celebrate the frustrations of stuff going wrong. My worst ever trip to New York was when on the plane in Melbourne, I watched 2 full movies on the plane before we took off. And it took would have been a 24-hour trip to I think it was 38 hours door to door, because of delays and missing planes. But that whole stuff going wrong is part of where your story's at. Not I got on a plane, we got there, it was fine. Not quite as interesting.
I love it. It's the reason to travel, isn't it? Just
it is.
Have an experience, do something.
Yeah, something different happening.
Roger in the chat says, don't be put off by tourist hotspots. There's a reason they're popular. Just go early or late and avoid the crush. It's a good point. Like
the Taj Mahal is a classic example, though. You get there at 5:30 in the morning, not there 11 o'clock in the day. 5:30, there's hundreds. 11 o'clock, there's tens of thousands.
And with some of the spots in Vietnam that were touristy, I found myself enjoying shooting the contrast. I actually did a series of 12 images on it. The contrast of the tourists and the local in it. Like I've got these shots of, there's locals going about their job, setting up stuff, like living life. And then there's tourists in their ponchos worried about the rain or whatever. And it's just, there's some really good
a juxtaposition.
Exactly. Because that is the life. It's like, I think sometimes we get tricked into being like, oh, I don't want to get tourists in my photos because then it doesn't look like it's India. Yeah. And it's like, well, but that is India.
Exactly. And you're trying to photograph what was, not what is.
Exactly.
Again, that's that whole thing again about the reality of this guy with his $5,000 clothes on, is North Face everything against a guy with that juxtaposition's a great thing to shoot. And we don't want all our shots to be like that, but we can't avoid it and we can't ignore it.
So you might as well enjoy it rather than being like, oh, there's tourists everywhere, I can't get a shot where there's no tourists in it.
Exactly. Find a way to make it interesting.
Do you still set your camera to black and white while you shoot?
Yeah. I mostly shoot JPEG. I don't shoot RAW a lot. And if I want to shoot a black and white image, I'll have a customized black and white settings on my camera. Just change it to black and white and shoot that. So it's black and white for life, and that's it.
So you don't shoot RAW? Not often.
Yeah.
What's your post-production workflow like?
Crap. I don't know. I'm not very good at post-production. So I use Luminar Neo software because I can press one button, it does a lot of stuff for me.
Yep.
And then I hit export, which that works pretty easy. And I do use Photoshop. I don't use Lightroom. I don't use any cataloging system whatsoever. I do use Photoshop when I want to do what I call more complex edits. And a complex edit for me is create another layer, maybe darken that layer using a multiplier or something like that, and then paint it a little bit more light just to kind of get a bit more contrast in the scene. But most of my shots are fairly rudimentary. There might be a bit of contrast. There might be a bit of saturation or desaturation. Again, so colors are words. So if the color in the scene adds to the story because it tells you something about them, I'll include it. If the color is a distraction that takes your eyes away from the subject, I'll either eliminate it or desaturate it. So a bit like that David Duchemin we talked before, where your eye looks first in the photo. Do you look at the color or do you look at the face? And if you're looking at the color, that's a problem. I want you to look at the face first. And I want you to holistically look at the image, but what captures your attention first? And if it's something that's not the face, then that's a distraction to me, and I'll find a way to minimize that some way. That might be with a vignette. It might be with a desaturation or a black and white. But if I can't edit a photo in under 5 minutes, I'm not doing it. It's going in the bin.
Okay.
There's too much work. Yeah,
Not worth it.
Yeah, so try and get it right in camera. And you don't need quite as much post-production. And again, if I want to have a really good cloudage in a photograph, maybe I'll use flash so I can control that in the camera to get it looking exactly the way I want. So most of the work's done. Not like I'm trying to create something that's not either I didn't capture properly. And same with I craft people's, when I'm doing a portrait in light, I'm crafting people's faces within a centimeter, within a millimeter of where I want them to be. Even when I'm doing workshops and shooting with models, my models are never allowed to move. I craft within a centimeter of where I want it to be, and they have to stay there for all 8 people to shoot them or whatever, because that centimeter difference is everything between good and sucks. And it's super important. So there's a lot of that going on. If I'm shooting a portrait, it's crafted as best as humanly possible in the camera, and there shouldn't be a lot needs doing. And again, I'm mostly shooting people, so there's not really a need for that dynamic range of landscapes for RAW and stuff like that anyway. And a JPEG file is already well and truly big enough for Instagram. Yeah. So, but I said, don't do what I do. Do what makes you happy. Some people love spending hours on a single photograph, and that's where their joy is in photography. Good on them. If that's what they love to do, all power to them. And I admire their skill and perseverance. I can't do it. So my photos will never get. I always look at my photos and go, well, this could be better, but I can't make it better. Yeah, and I'm not going to learn how to make it better, and I never have, and I never will. If I knew how to edit, I know some of my photos would be phenomenal. But I can't edit, and I'll never learn how to edit. Yeah, there's not enough drive to make me want to do it.
Yeah, it's a refreshing take, and I'm the same. I don't like editing stuff. Actually, submitted. So Matt Palmer, who's a landscape photographer, he's got the Alpine Light Gallery in Bright. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No.
No, okay. Anyway, him and his partner Mika have got the Alpine Light Gallery in Bright. He's a very accomplished landscape photographer.
Does she take photos too?
Yes, and she's
okay. I might have heard of her name. Yeah, I think I've heard of her.
She's very accomplished as well. They both won all of the awards and done phenomenal work. And their gallery is actually working, which is quite impressive. Like running a gallery these days would be so tough.
Absolutely.
So they're doing all that, and they're also involved in judging. I think Matt's actually judging today, he said. And I know you hate photography judges.
I don't hate judges. I hate judging.
Know. I'm putting words in your mouth.
I hate judging, not the judges themselves. I'm sure they're lovely people.
I know.
It might not be.
But Matt's got this is a long way to tell this story. Matt's got a new website that he's testing, that he's sort of built a new service called Photo Kaizen. Basically, it's like the judging process, but with the idea of improving your work. It doesn't rank you against other photographers. It's just like, hey, here's what I'm seeing. Here's maybe what I would try to improve the image.
I would rather call that an opinion website.
Yeah, I think. Well, I guess that's
because no one can judge someone's work.
No, and I don't think that's
but I can have an opinion. Yeah,
I don't
and
think
I would
that's
also
what
say,
he says either. It actually isn't called
I'm a
judging.
big philosopher in keeping things simple. And photo Kaizen, if I came across that, it would tell me nothing about the business or the website or what to expect. I like lucky straps. Hey, I understand that. I know what you do. Your strap. I buy one of your straps. I get luckier. I get it. My business, creative photo workshops. It's pretty simple. We do workshops, and they're about photography, and they're somewhat creative. Yeah, keep it simple. So I like things that are bright festival of photography. Yeah, that works for me because it explains where it is and what it does, and it's a festival.
Kaizen's a Japanese word for continual improvement.
Yeah, and 1.0001% of people will know that. Yeah, so I told you I've got an opinion on everything.
Anyway, hang on. Long story short was I needed to submit some images to this website so that he could test his service. And I was like, yeah, that'd be great. Like I'll submit some images. And I edited them so fast that I was like, I hope he doesn't notice that I spent no time on it. Because I'm submitting them but I'm just not
a review.
I'm submitting him for review, and he does those reviews that you do when it's like I can't remember what they're called now. It used to be the AIPP, but now it's called something else or whatever. And it's like I assume the people that submit stuff to those sort of competitions would spend an hour on a photo or something like that,
or more, 5 hours,
5 hours, and I think I spent
5 minutes,
15 minutes on 12 images.
That's right. Yeah, good.
Yeah, not on one, no. And so I'll be interested to see if that's part of the critique or not. Where if he's like, hey, you could have put a bit of effort in,
or some,
just some, any would be good.
Are these straight out of camera?
Well, what's funny is that's the point. So when I actually originally did this set of 12 images, they were shot straight out of camera to be shown on this podcast and stuff as part of a project I was doing. So they in my mind, they were done when I pressed the shutter.
Yeah.
And then I was like, that one's a little bit crooked and stuff. So I should probably
tweak. Yeah.
I should probably process them if I'm actually asking him to, because he's doing it for free. He's going to spend a bit of time critiquing them. I was like, I should probably do this properly. But yeah, so basically I'm waiting to see that and him be like, come on, try. But I don't like editing photos that much, really.
Can I explain a little bit my thoughts on judging? Because I spend quite a lot of time talking to camera clubs. Yeah. And camera clubs have a vast range of skills levels, people involved in them, from newbies all the way up to shooting for 50, 60 years. Probably the most consistent comment I ever get is, we had a judge come in, they judged all our photos. He told us everything we were doing wrong with our photos. I did all the things he told me not to. They told me to fix up for my next competition. The next judge came in and said, everything I just did was all wrong. And I should have done probably the stuff I did that the other guy said was no good. Yeah. And every single judge comes in and, like it's a law, like this is the law of photography, you must do this, this, and this. And this is a bad photo because you didn't do this, this, and this. Your photo isn't as good as that one because you didn't do this, this, and this. That's incredibly confusing for people trying to learn. If you've just followed someone's advice and done everything they said and then told everything you just did was wrong, it's a bloody hard thing to learn. I think the only person you've got to please first and foremost is yourself. If you like it, it's a good image. If you don't like it, maybe chat with people to say, well, how would you have shot this? Is probably a better discussion than what should I have done better. How would you have approached this? What do you see in this that I'm not, or that's different than me? Find ways of discussing the approach to the photograph more in as many varied ways that might resonate with you. Then this is the rule, like the rule of thirds. All these rules that people seem to have don't help art. Art doesn't have a lot of rules. Photography has a ton of them for some reason. And it seems to be a strange juxtaposition. So I'd say, yes, get people to critique your photo, but take it all with a grain of salt. And just because someone said you should have done this and this doesn't mean you had to, and doesn't mean they're right. And if the photo still speaks to you afterwards, then that's great. Photos that can be technically perfect can be artistically boring. You know, we've all heard the guy who plays who's been to every music school on the planet and plays the violin with the most incredible skill you've ever seen, but has no soul. And then there's a kid who taught himself to play. He plays on the street, and it sounds amazing. It's because there's emotion and life and soul in the playing, not technique and structure and formula. So trying to find that balance. So what I would much rather see clubs do is Club A and Club B agree on a theme. Everyone goes out and shoots that theme. Everyone prints out those images. Then they hold an exhibition, and everyone walks around and talks about their photos. Some people get up and talk about, this is what I saw, and this is what I thought. Oh, wow. And this is how I did it differently. And we discuss different ways of approaching shooting the same type of thing. And I think we'll learn better and encourage more people and bring more people along, and they won't get dispirited and they won't feel that they're never going to be good enough. My tagline is always Australia's most unawarded photographer. Because I've never submitted a single photo to be judged. And funnily enough, I was doing one of my talks to the Australian Photographic Judges Association at the end of last year. And the first thing it says, I hate judges, to Australia's most prominent photographic judges, but only because of that reason, because I think it leads people away from maybe developing as photographers, rather than, not always, it's a blanket statement. So I'm sure there are many phenomenal judges out there, and I say, not so much judge, not so much opinion, but can share a different vision to how you could shoot the image that maybe not be better, but at least be different, and may open our eyes to how we might shoot the same thing differently the next time. And I think that kind of growth is better than the best place, second best place, third best place.
Yeah. There's definitely both sides can be right, and there's two different ways to look at it. And I think we've done interviews with both Matt and Mika, and they attribute a lot of their growth as photographers to that process they invested in. But I can see 100% from that club side of things how it can be demoralizing, and particularly if it puts everyone in the club at this point where you're like, okay, you're better than them, you're better than this one.
And if you've been shooting for 70 years and that guy's been shooting for 6 months, why would you feel, A, to want to join, or B, to want to compete?
And it's, like you say, it's also subjective to what that judge saw. Maybe that judge had time constraints too, so they were also just trying to do something for the club, but it's like, hey, I've got to judge all these images, and I don't have time to like spend hours on each image. So it's like, quick, all right, that one's better than that one, and they don't, so it's like, like you say, there's other ways to maybe help develop at that club level people's photography skills and eyes that's more conversational rather than score based.
Let me give you an example. I mean, I get asked to judge from time to time, much to my distress, but I was in the Rural Arts Australia brought me up to Billawheeler out in far north Queensland as part of their Royal Show, doing some workshops. But they also wanted me to judge their Royal Show's photo competition, and they had 1,620 photos in 42 different categories submitted. They'd put out the entire day aside to judge for the judging process. I did it in 35 minutes. And they within seconds, I'm discarding. I'm choosing images within a second. They're going, you can't do this. You can't just go bang. You don't. I said, why can't I? I can look at 50 images and see the one I like.
Yeah,
because it's opinion based. And out of this batch of images, there's 2 or 3 that stand out to my eye straight away. So I select them, because that's all judging is my opinion. That's what I like. Yeah, there might have been better photos there. There may have been more interesting, better. Yeah, exactly, all that stuff. But for me, for this judge at this moment, in the way I'm feeling and the way I like and what appeals to me, bang, I can discard 1,472 images or whatever in no time, bang, because I know what I like. And so all the photos that I want, it's just pictures that I liked, and that's, I think, probably the most democratic way of doing it is I know what I like and I know what I don't like, and there's no formula behind it. There's no rules behind it or photographic laws behind it. It's just, oh, that's pretty. Oh, I like that one. Isn't that? Yeah. And that's, I think, maybe for better or worse, that's how I see photography.
Makes total sense. And I mean, look, we might make up the podium of least awarded photographers because I don't think Jim.
Yeah.
Well, actually, that's not true. Jim's won one.
No,
You're
good
out,
on
Jim.
you.
No, you have. You've won one. You've got
No.
that clear thing that you won for taking a photo with a GoPro that you couldn't see. I think we should take that off you. He won
Just disconnect him.
what are they called? Like a pressy or something? Like a press photographer's
He's got the award over there. He's going for the award.
He's going to lean over. This little fella. I don't know about that.
I'm sure I've got it around here somewhere.
He took photos of cricketers in a pool underwater, and it got on the front cover of the Bendigo Advertiser or the Herald Sun or one of those ones.
That?
And he won an award for it. So you're out, Jim. It's
No,
only
no.
me and Glynn that are the unawarded photographers.
We actually got nominated the other day, Justin, for the wedding awards. So
those scams.
every year there's the wedding awards, Glynn, and it's not. So every year there's the best photographer is awarded. Now, the best florist and the best celebrant and the best chair
Everything.
hire company, like everything is awarded, and it's a popularity contest based down on votes. Now we've been awarded, and I see all of my like colleagues that I work with at weddings, and they're posting about it. Vote for me, and I'm like, I'm not like, don't vote. I almost want to post and say, do not vote for me.
Is this the
Reverse
same one, Jim, though?
psychology. Good way to do it.
Because when you win,
Maybe.
though, you have to pay to get your award.
Pay to play.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
to get the
I know the
award,
type.
you've got to get a
You
ticket.
know.
It's
for
like
the
all these
night.
business awards. They're a con all the way around. Yeah.
Yes.
I've seen many of them. Yeah.
But people use it as a marketing tool, which is,
Of course.
and I understand it. It's great. Yeah, I was the whatever I won, and I'm just like, no, does it matter? Like,
Look at my photos.
yeah, look at my photos.
Do you like my photos? I can do that for your wedding.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Like, talk to me. You know, I'd offer far greater value than an award would tell you.
Because you're a lovely guy.
And you've got
that
a
means
beautiful...
on the day, that's really important. You know?
Yeah.
It is.
And what else, and more than, you know, what else I can do more so than just a photographer, like what we do.
You can do the buttonholes, you can do the tie properly, and you can do all the stuff. Yeah.
And that happens like so often.
I know.
That we're doing all the extra things. You're
the psychologist.
You're
You're the time manager. You're everything. Yeah.
You're kicking out people that you can, because you're reading the room, because you've learnt to read people, and you've learnt that their mum's annoying them or whatever, and like you've got to.
I say the wedding photographers, I really admire. I've done a share, but I really admire the broad range of skill sets required to shoot weddings. It's far beyond the photography. The day works or doesn't work, often based around how good the wedding photographer is. The disasters that either happen or don't happen can often be based on you guys, and always had mad admiration for the work that's done. Yeah, it's just that being a psychologist is tantamount. It's that before photography almost. You know, so important. So all power to you.
It's even the little things. We used to always have a 6-pack of beer in the car, in our car fridge, because you get the boys out after the ceremony and you're taking some photos of the bridal party and stuff, and no one's brought beer and they're all getting thirsty and they're like, how much longer for the photos? And
that's
I'm
right.
like,
Then they're getting antsy.
Do you just want a beer? And they're like, oh, yeah. And then
that's a photo too. Then you've got photos.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We did that multiple times. Always had a 6-pack of beer in the fridge. And then worst case, I'd drink it.
Exactly.
Right. We've kept you for a long time. It's 2 hours and 20 minutes in, and I've actually got a dog I've got to dog sit today. But before I let you go, I've got a question. Actually, I've got a lot of questions. We're going to have to get you back.
I'm happy to come back.
Excellent. Well, we do Monday night random shows, which I think
bring on the random show.
For.
Monday night's my best night of the week, funnily enough. So.
Perfect. Well,
you're in.
We'll put you on the rotation because basically all it is talking crap about anything.
I can do that.
New gear that's come out or something or whatever, and it's just about
listen to my podcast if you want to hear crap. You know, we got that.
Oh, I doubt it. Now, here's my question. You're in India. Actually, this doesn't really work. Anyway, you'll just have to suspend your reality. Anyway,
easy.
You're in India.
I don't have much.
You're in India, and then the zombie apocalypse hits, and there's zombies running around the streets everywhere.
That's a lot of zombies.
You've got this. It's 1 point. How many
zombies.
billion? 1.4 billion zombies.
That's a lot of billion.
Yeah.
A lot of zombies.
And you've got to quickly grab any camera and lens, just one camera and one lens of anything throughout history up until now. No future cameras though. To document the end of the world zombie apocalypse. What do you grab?
5D Mark IV and a 15 to 30 Tamron.
Nice.
5D Mark IV. Not that I ever dabble, but I can shoot some pretty amazing video if needed. If we need to document some video footage, I know it's going to do a reasonable job on its own without me having to know what I'm doing. Also, yeah, it's a low light beast if needs be, because I'll be hiding somewhere for sure. That's probably too dark. But yeah,
can't be like, hey, I'll just get the light out. Just stay there, Mr. Zombie. I just really want the light just coming across your face as you come at me.
I am just starting to rethink my lens choice though. Maybe I should get the 150 to 600. Shoot them from 600
you want to be further away.
15 mil might be a bit close for comforts,
but that's a heavy lens to lug around in the end of the world.
But you could also hit them with it.
This is
that's true.
So maybe I'm trying 150 to 600. Plus it's also got the tripod mount too. So that's a heavy piece of metal you can just gouge in someone's forehead. So I'm trying.
You can put like a bayonet on the bottom of that.
Exactly, 5D Mark IV with a 150 to 600, and a helicopter with unlimited fuel.
That wasn't part of the deal. So we don't have the budget for that. Okay.
Well, there might be some free helicopters lying around.
There you go. Yeah. It's having to land to refill is the problem, though. So it's got to have unlimited fuel.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's the 150 to 600. I think you're the first person to say that. I like it.
It's a multi-purpose weapon.
It's a pretty good choice. Except for low light, but at that point you're hiding anyway. So,
if I've got to shoot a zombie at 25,600 ISO, it's okay,
All right, we better wrap this thing up. David asked this a little while ago. Hopefully he's still listening. Jim, question for Jim: do you shoot your candid reception photos RAW or JPEG?
RAW, yeah. All wedding, all RAW. Yeah. Just don't want to change things and don't change things. One set of cards. Sorry, one set of 2 cards. But I mean, we're not changing cards in the camera. We're not changing stuff like that. Is just asking to make a mistake. Really.
And speaking of mistakes, they do happen. So when we're shooting weddings, obviously you could shoot JPEG if you're on top of everything or whatever, but sometimes shit goes wrong. And if you need to recover an image, it's not about us. It's about the client. And
if I was shooting weddings, I'd be shooting RAW.
Yeah.
If I'm shooting for a client and the photos are important, I'd shoot RAW. If I'm shooting for myself, it's JPEG. I don't care if I lose them.
Exactly.
But when you're doing serious work, use the tool as its most capable.
Exactly. You just never know what might happen. The camera might underexpose or something, and you can just save the photo or whatever, and it's worth the extra space. And
memory's cheap.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, it just keeps marching on though. Just keep making that hard drive array bigger and bigger. One day when it dies. It's a concern. Brendan says, great show, gents. Thank you. Philip Johnson's also says, great show, gents. And thanks, Glynn.
No worries, Philip. Good to see you, mate. Hope you're well.
Thank you very much, Glynn. Anything you want to plug? You got any workshops or anything coming up? Any stuff?
No, I'll plug. I've got a workshop at Brendan's store down in Ocean Grove in June or July or something, doing a natural light. I can't remember because I don't pay much attention to stuff like that. He's selling it. So if you want to come along to a natural light workshop, come along to Ocean Grove. But I'll probably, if you keep an eye on my socials, I'll advertise. All my events at the moment that are coming up are sold out. So anything new coming up, keep an eye on the socials. But as I said, just reach out if anyone's got any questions. Always happy to have a chat, as you've noticed.
I will be reaching out once I start making some plans for India. I'll be hitting you up and desperately trying to get your advice.
Absolutely.
Just bring him back on the podcast.
Well, that'll be the other thing.
Yeah.
We'll be doing.
We'll go through itinerary live. There we are.
Yeah.
I'll book everything. It's just live on the show. Be thrilling for people to listen to.
Travel booking website. There we have podcast. It'd be fabulous. Yeah.
Hey, I mean, whatever we can do to make some content. All right. Well, we'll get out of here. Thanks very much.
Well, thanks for having me on,
Thank
guys.
you.
I appreciate it.
Thanks, Jim, for coming along with Greg away. I needed Jim here with his purple background. I really like it.
Yeah.
And
Lavender. So he's going the right choice.
Is that why you did that?
No, I think I'm settled on this for a little bit. I don't know. I change the colours quite often, Glynn.
You're not a YouTuber unless you've got neon in the background. So
yeah. Well, look, Justin's normally looks a lot better than it does. So I don't like
mine
it.
Are falling down. These are cheap ones off like from Bunnings
colours?
or something, and they're just falling apart. I actually really like the white.
No, it doesn't. It doesn't look good.
No, it makes you look washed out. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah. It actually looks a lot better when you've got it coloured.
Yeah. Then we could look at the colour rather than you.
Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah, that's all.
Yelena says the answer is yes, Jim. I don't know what that means. Anyway, Jim's got a million camera straps to pack, so we better let him go as well.
Good stuff. Good for business.
And and otherwise, thank
you. Hopefully we'll chat again sometime.
Absolutely. We'll let you know when we can get you on a Monday, because I think your opinion will be well received.
Easy, dude. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Lavender for lavender. Yeah, okay. Thanks very much. See you guys. Remember, Lucky Straps, use code Justin or Jim or Greg or whatever you want. I think you just type whatever you want and there it'll work.
Type the code Glynn and you get 100% discount.
Ooh. I should set that up for one order, see if anyone does it.
And the $300 shipping.
Yeah, exactly. it's like Temu or whatever or something. Yeah, exactly. They get you on the shipping. All right. With that, we'll see you guys later. Goodbye.
Bye, everyone.
See you later. Thank you.